What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the show full of Spider-Man love and Spider-Man hate. We are here to discuss the latest and greatest in gaming. It's been a pretty big week, and so I have two very special guests who are basically regulars at this point. The core crew, Tornado from Texas, Gabe.
Tornado.
I'd rather be a hurricane. Let's just make that known. But
There's
hi.
Alliteration just doesn't really work out with Hurricane. So
Yeah.
if you want to move to like Houston, then you could be the Houston Hurricane.
Okay. But then I don't want to be a rocket. Is the only thing that I want to be clear.
So then I have to be either a maple leaf or a blue jay. Because
I mean, Maple Max sounds pretty. That's a pretty
Maple
hot
Max.
name.
Maple Max.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't sound good at all.
That's like a '90s advertising campaign for like maple syrup. Like take your maple syrup to the max.
Oh, you could be Mad Max.
There you go. That's
That game's coming out this year, right?
That's a movie, bro.
No, there is a game.
There's a game too.
Oh, I'm thinking of Mad Max Fury Road.
That movie trailer creeps me out. Like,
Yeah,
oh.
it's insane. I don't know.
It's not even
Craziness.
the gore. It's just like the people. Though their costumes are
Yeah. Did you see the originals?
no, but nobody's as beautiful as Andrew Garfield in those movies. So I have a hard time
It
watching.
makes me think of Fallout. That trailer for sure.
Yeah,
sort
you're
of.
just you're like predicting the future here. We're gonna
Yeah.
jump.
Look at that. You see
We'll-
that? That's
We'll
what I
jump
do.
into that in 1 second. We got a little feedback from last week where we talked about Game Awards, and people had some pretty interesting thoughts on the Game Award shows. Tom McCoy had a really good comment. He said, I believe Game Awards are good for people who don't play a ton of games to introduce them to a variety of games. However, for the hardcore gamers, I don't think it matters much at all. It's sad Nintendo doesn't get more attention at these award shows. They constantly have the highest rated games but don't get shown the love. For example, look at Bayonetta 2 this year. Totally absent and one of the highest rated games of 2014.
Yeah, it sucks.
That
It's
was
true. The Grammys happened last week, right? And
Yeah.
I don't watch that stuff, but I have a wife that wanted to see if Taylor Swift would win.
hmm
So I was forced to sit there for I had no idea that show's like 3 hours long. So
Yeah.
you think podcasts are long? Yeah, go watch the Grammys. Those things are so boring, and
To be fair though, they are more entertaining.
that's arguable.
Yeah, we need Kanye to make an appearance so he can
Yeah.
steal the mic and go on a long soliloquy about art and artists.
Yeah, well,
and
where I was
Beyonce.
going with the whole Grammy thing is who are those things catered to? Because the people that win the categories, it makes no sense. Sort of the same with these video games. Like who's picking these things?
Well, I heard Jeff Keighley talk about his Game Awards and why he kind of went away from the VGAs and whatnot. He's trying to establish something that becomes sort of like the Academy Awards, like the big thing. And the interesting point that he made was that these awards are all voted by different groups of people. So the DICE Awards that we referenced last week, that's peer-to-peer. So that's developers voting for other developers. Whereas like Keighley's Game Awards, that's a press and fan-voted event. The Academy Awards is a peer-voted system that's voted by people within the Academy. And sort of like who do you give the most power to vote for Game of the Year? Should it be the fans who are buying? Should it be the journalists who are pros at reviewing them and sort of know what quality is? Should it be the developers themselves who understand the difficulty in making games? Like, who do you give the power to for that ultimate gold trophy?
Us. Just give us the power. We'll pick everything next year. Be
This
back.
podcast. There we go. It's done.
Yeah,
that's
We
it.
got it.
Yeah.
We got it.
I don't know. That's a very good question, actually, because you see, on one hand, I want to say, yeah, developers should, because they understand the difficulties of design much more than the consumer would and stuff. But then I also think at the end of the day, it's a consumer product, so obviously you should have some influence on it. So
Right.
I don't know, maybe a kind of like a collection of those, you know what I mean, where now it seems like one is done by journalists and consumers, the other is done by developers. Why not have a crossover, kind of, a little bit of that, so that then you're a little bit more representative?
A little bit of Spidey, a little bit of Avengers.
There you go. That's
I mean,
exactly
I think his point too about they really don't matter. Like the top selling games are never going to be the award winners for the most part. So does it have an effect? Does winning Best Picture have an effect? The only effect that really seems to have is that they re-release the movie.
Yeah, they make more money in the back end. Boyhood actually getting all those nominations and getting all that attention. I'm pretty sure that sold some tickets.
Yeah, and I think the only issue becomes for movies, you can trust that, Oscar, Best Picture, that means something. With games, we talked about it last week, every game seems to come out with a Game of the Year edition because it got it from somewhere, Game Informer or NeoGAF or whatever. Kind of trying to filter that down would be nice. I just don't know nobody's going to seed and say, oh, we're canceling our award show so that this one can sort of take center stage.
How cool would it be if we only got one Game of the Year edition for one game?
We should just turn it over to the government. The government votes. They can handle it.
Because that'll go well. This year's Call of Duty was quite great.
Strategize, or stratequize, I guess. To be honest, I don't think any game last year truly earned the right to be called Game of the Year. Yeah, Dragon Age and Shadow of Mordor are really good, but they've been shovelled to the top just because they're the only real contenders, which, again, just kind of echoes our point that 2014 wasn't so hot, but 2015 looks to be a lot better, and this week, I think the biggest thing is that Bethesda announced that they are going to have their own press conference for the first time ever at E3 in Hollywood, which to everybody seems to signal Fallout 4.
What else could it be? That's the thing, because
I don't think it's going to be just Fallout, though.
No.
I think there's a good chance we even see maybe a new Elder Scrolls trailer.
No way.
Fallout?
Yeah.
No, there's no way they do both.
I wouldn't be surprised if they go, okay, here is a new Elder Scrolls trailer, which is coming out, let's say, 2016 or 17, and then they'll say Fallout this fall.
Yeah, and
they can't. Those Elder Scrolls games take years and years to make.
Okay, but so then, do you think that if that's the case, just Fallout?
No, they publish a lot of stuff.
They've been getting in the publishing game with Evil Within, and they did Wolfenstein, right?
Yeah.
My prediction for this show is that we get Fallout 4, we get Doom 4 because that's been in the works, and Dishonored 2 because there has been so many little hints at that game for a while, like screenshots taken at supposedly like meetings and stuff with logos. So I bet we get kind of that trifecta. An interesting thing I wanted to point out that I found on Twitter is that Fallout gameplay for Fallout 3 debuted at E3 in 2008, and the game came out 4 months later in October. So if they debut gameplay at E3 2015, it's possible and maybe even likely that this game ships by the end of the year.
Which would be amazing, man.
But because what else? What do they have for this year? Are they publishing something this year or in general?
Well, those three things that Zach mentioned, I think those are all likely to come out this year. Like, there's a big possibility. Like Doom, they've been working on that thing forever. Same with Dishonored. Same with Fallout. So any one of those, they can say, okay, this is coming this year. And then these other two are coming maybe 6 months apart or whatever the case may be. And then after that gives them time to also get the Elder Scrolls train rolling again. But the Evil Within sold a lot better than they anticipated, I think. So,
I mean, the other thing is like Elder Scrolls Online kind of completely bombed. That's going free to play. Do they
expansion?
Why?
I don't care. I don't
do
care
you
about
really?
it.
Okay, so do you think there's no chance? Final 60 seconds of the presentation, they're just before they walk off, some sort of quick little thing, and they just show Elder Scrolls coming 2016.
Yeah,
let's say fall.
I think Elder Scrolls it's
I
sold.
think there's a chance of that.
I think there's a
Skyrim.
0% chance
Skyrim
of
was
that.
what? 2012?
Skyrim
12 or 11?
13.
12.
What, Skyrim was in 2011? Or
2012, wasn't it?
I think it was 12. I'm pretty sure.
Skyrim came out in 2011. Wow.
Really?
Ooh, so it's been
No wonder
4
that game
years
looks
already.
goofy. Yeah,
right?
and something that I saw again on Twitter is that the Elder Scrolls series, for how rabid the Fallout fan base is, Elder Scrolls sells better.
Yeah,
And,
it does.
Like considerably better. So that's something that they probably have to consider, especially if ESO is not making them any money. So yeah, I think it's possible. I think it's interesting that sort of out of the shadows, Bethesda is now maybe rising to main top tier publisher status. I mean, if they come out with Dishonored 2, Fallout 4, and an Elder Scrolls thing, like we gotta elevate them towards like the Ubisoft ranks real quick.
All right, Max, you have swayed me from thinking a 0% chance of Elder Scrolls being a thing. Now I think it's 10%. No, 10%. I'll give you 10%.
That's not bad.
So
but I really don't see it happening. They do cycle Fallout and Elder Scrolls. Like, it would be so strange. Like, they're not going to release those two games in the same year or even a year apart. I think they give it a couple years. They have to, because they don't just release Fallout and say, okay, we're done. We're on to the Elder Scrolls. They release like 4 like decent sized expansions, and you would think that now when DLC is sort of more prevalent than it was years before when Fallout first tried it with that, I think they're going to be bigger than ever. I think instead of just adding maybe 2 hours of story, that they will be a significant addition to the game. So If Fallout gets announced, I don't think we see Elder Scrolls for at least a couple years. But we have Dishonored, we have Doom 4, and I mean Wolfenstein sold really well for them, so I wouldn't be surprised if they have another Wolfenstein. Same with Evil Within.
I don't know. I'm maybe, but I just think that it's too big of a franchise, and considering it's their first time doing this, I think that that's going to be kind of like a good way for them to like basically steal E3. You know,
I saw a lot of people saying like
all this stuff. Then that's going to be a big feather in their cap. You know,
like fingers crossed we get a big announcement. There's no way you invite people out to a theater and bring them unless you're ready to like blow their socks off. So this is taking place before the Microsoft, Sony press conferences. They're hitting hard first. I guess they go big. Assuming that Fallout 4 is sort of the focal point, what do you guys want for that? Like Fallout 3 and New Vegas are now 5 years old, 5, 6, 7 years old. Do you want just the same game in a new setting? Are you okay with Boston, which is rumored? Like, what are your two takes on where that should go? And dear God, I hope it's next gen only.
It will be.
PC 3 or 1.
Yeah,
and
PC,
PS4.
Xbox One, and PS4.
Yeah,
those other consoles
big enough barely, now.
Yeah, the other consoles couldn't even handle like Fallout 3, so there's no way that they can actually put these out on 360 and on PS3 as well. I'm looking at my phone, and I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just trying to see. Maybe you guys can Google it. What was the time from Morrowind to the next?
I mean, Oblivion came out in 2005.
Yeah, I'm basically just trying to see the amount of years in between each. From Morrowind to Oblivion, then from Oblivion to Skyrim. How many years was it?
I think Oblivion came out. Didn't Oblivion come out the holiday season of the launch of the console?
I think it was way later.
Oblivion is
06. So 06 to 011, so 5 years, which is going to be 2016.
Yeah,
like,
I think they could throw up just even like Elder Scrolls 6 done, like walk off stage. But Fallout 4, like location wise, do you guys have any hopes or dreams? I mean,
Boston sounds good. I think I said Boston like 5 times, but it sounds good. I think.
Just this normal city though, like what can I mean? DC has like the notable landmarks. New Vegas had like all the different types of terrain in the Strip. What I mean, I'm going to Boston for PAX East in a couple weeks. It's like a cool city, but
I don't know. I mean, to be honest, I know I'm probably gonna get hate for this, but I don't know. I've never been a huge fan of Fallout. I've played Fallout 3, and I was like, yeah, I could see how people enjoy this, but to me, it was just, I don't know. Like, it just didn't grab me. The world wasn't an interesting one for me to explore. Everything is dark, and maybe it was just because at the time, you know, all the games were like that. It was all brown and gray and dark. So it's like, I just want to play in something more colorful. Like, give me like jungles or something more interesting. So maybe
you're not getting jungles in Fallout. That's not.
Yeah, I know it's a post-apocalyptic world, but I don't know. It's just
to me like Fallout.
To me for some reason.
I really enjoy the games, not as much as most, but like it's kind of the antithesis to Nintendo game design, I feel, which is like, let's put as many cool mechanics in that are unpolished rather than like a few mechanics that are really polished. So my hope is that the combat, the conversations, the exploration gets refined to a point where it feels. I mean, Skyrim is more coherent than Fallout. Fallout to me is just so disjointed in terms of the. Like that combat just feels so weird. The conversations, I'm guessing they have to. You know, their tech is improved, so it's got to be better. Bottom line, I'm super excited for it. I just would like them to go somewhere more creative, I think, than just I mean, I would love to see it go international. I think that would be really cool, rather than stay.
But traditionally, it's set within like one city, no? Isn't that how they do it?
Well, I just mean like
for the most part,
set it in Russia or set it in China, or I don't know, wherever the Brotherhood of Steel ventures out to or whatnot, or even pick a place in California. I know they did that in the early Fallouts. Boston to me just, I mean, maybe it's fine, but I don't know what you do with that. I'll just be interested to see in the last 5 years what they've sort of learned from fan feedback and from their own growth. Like, where does this game just look like a better graphics Fallout 3, or does it look like an evolution for the franchise, like Fallout 3 was for the series?
Even if it is like better graphics and I mean obviously new story and there's going to be new mechanics, like they're not going to just do Fallout 3 again.
The good thing is that that's a studio that you can like trust in that regard. If you want to talk about later we're going to talk about Evolve, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Where people are doubting the value that you get with Evolve out of the box, so to speak. one studio that you know you're always going to get a ridiculous amount of value from is Bethesda. Like I can't think of a game that they've done where it felt like, oh, this game felt like I got shortchanged. You know, they always pack their games full of like just tons and tons of stuff to do. And lots to explore.
And their side quests are like, to me, second to none. They're just like really, really fun. They might not be necessarily the best, like technically, like you said, they have tons of issues, but the characters that they bring into the worlds are always interesting and they're always funny. And you said the game is dark. I don't know if you just meant like aesthetically or you meant like tonally, because tonally it's not that dark.
No. I'm saying aesthetically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because it from a tone, like you can see obviously some of the gameplay videos and stuff, the stuff people do sometimes is just like crazy and chaotic. Yeah.
And a lot of the people love the glitches that, you know, just magically happen in the game, like, you know, the woman with the horse legs. Like there's all types of insane stuff that become memes over time, like the arrow to the knee. I mean, that was a thing.
That was huge. That's over the internet and the world.
I'll open myself up to hate here. I'm really excited for it. I think it's cool that Bethesda is doing this. I might be more excited for Dishonored 2 than I am for Fallout 4 in this weird way, but I feel like those games, specifically Elder Scrolls and Fallout, they get a lot of passes for the fandom.
Man, I agree.
Here we go. Let's go.
All right,
let's
I
open
agree.
this can of worms.
All right, I'm gonna give people what they've been wanting. I agree, but nobody in the industry gets more passes than Nintendo. And
me and Zach had a nice back and forth little Twitter.
Passes.
No, and I love Nintendo. I love them, but
passes for quality, like they do so many quality passes that the games come out great. Is that what you mean?
Quality. No, their quality second to none. I'm not saying that, but they get a lot of passes for their stupidity. Like they're a dumb company.
Oh, that's fine, but I'm talking about when the product comes on the shelf. I feel like Skyrim...
not even that. Not even the product. Okay, let's talk about the product. Do you think that PlayStation All Stars Battle Royale?
I like that game a lot.
Yeah, but at its core, that game reviewed terribly compared to Smash.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it didn't play that much differently.
No, I mean Smash Bros. I think is a more tightly controlled game.
Yeah,
and the environments are more interesting. But I liked All Stars. It didn't get good reviews.
Yeah, so that's what I'm trying to say. If you took All Stars and you made that a Smash game, it would still review way better. Just reskin the characters to Smash Brothers.
For sure,
that game reviews way better.
Gives them a huge thing, but that's the same thing we talked about with Hunter Man versus Uncharted 4. That it's going to review better with Nathan Drake at the helm than if it had Joe Smith. Now it would, but right, just like Mario now makes a name. I mean, I don't want to go down the Nintendo hole. I really like Fallout. I really like the Elder Scrolls. I just think that those games, maybe what they do is more experiential, and it derives its magic from putting you in this very deep role-playing experience. But to me, those games could use a lot of refinement, and that's what I hope to see this generation. Not an expanding of the world, not oh my god, we got 50 million people that stare straight at you, but a refinement of the mechanics so that it feels like a more polished and really like a shiny game. And I'm not talking about graphics. I'm just talking about that you can go and your interactions feel very
meaningful.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that that's not what we're going to get, to be honest. I know you might be upset by that, but I just think that it's also, maybe it's just not targeted to players like you and I in that regard, because it seems like we both enjoy more of a narrative kind of not as much just here's a huge world and figure out something to do.
But why can't we demand, I know it takes a lot of time, but okay, let's take The Last of Us because that's the prime example that everyone knows. Why couldn't there be a half an hour of The Last of Us in Fallout in the sense of a great side quest that has an emotional appeal and characters that you trust and believe in?
There is.
It does not hit home anywhere near the same way. The animations suck. The writing is not very good.
Well, I mean, the animations are not going to be as good because the world is so much bigger and there's so much more going on. So, if
hard
you're looking
for them to polish everything.
Yeah, they can't. No matter how much we want them to.
In 5-6 years?
Yeah, no, they can't.
I think that the whole idea with Skyrim, Fallout, all of that is I think it's a game that really appeals more so to anybody who just it's to me that's like a perfect sandbox experience where there's tons of cool stuff to do, right? Like little missions, and more often than not I've noticed that people who love those games, they enjoy the side quests more so than the actual
because how much overlap do you think there is between Fallout players and GTA players? A lot?
Some. I wouldn't say a lot.
I probably would say that there's a big overlap between the players who play GTA Online and Fallout.
Okay.
Sure.
More so than the story for GTA. Because I think
Fallout
that there's
does
a lot
have
of people who
single
play GTA 5
story.
like just the story and they enjoy that and running around. But I think that the audience that loves that kind of like, wacky, let's just run around and do whatever we want, they love that experience and they recreate it in Fallout, Skyrim, so on and so forth.
Yeah. And the way that you said it, that you wanted like an emotional story, sort of like The Last of Us, and a side quest for Fallout, they're there, man. They really, really are. They might not be as polished, like the moving might not be as nice, like it's not super fluid. Keep in mind you're going from first to third person
True.
as well, so
True.
things like that make it impossible like to get the exact experience you want. But if you're only wanting a story that will resonate with you, they are in there. Like, do some of those side quests, they're in there. I promise you.
Okay. I mean, to me, what I love is that it's an RPG game where you're leveling up your character that still sort of retains. I mean, it's a Western RPG. You've got shooting, you've got first person. It's not like a very slow plotting game where you get to build your character. You're building a character in a FPS type environment, which I think is good. If they can lock down the mechanics, the shooting a little bit more, that game is going to be. I just hope it comes out this year. If it comes out this year, I'll give them a lot of room for error on some of their other stuff. But that is exciting.
How crazy would that be? We get Metal Gear, we get Fallout, we get hopefully a new Zelda, like every franchise that I love coming out in 1 year.
Well, how about problem there again though? Do we want to see something new from them?
Yeah,
wouldn't that be nice too?
Yeah, that would be really good. Another thing I wanted to point out is that this was related to Metal Gear, because a couple people have mentioned that in the comments, and it's got to come out sometime soon. But Metal Gear Solid 4. Where is? Let me pull this up. MGS4 was announced. The release date was announced February 28th, 2008, and the game released in June of 2008. And Kojima said to expect a release date announcement very soon. So that game could be another one that surprises us and releases in the summer.
I don't know about summer, but it's coming out before the year's over, I think.
I don't think Metal Gear really wants to go head-to-head with Halo, Uncharted, Fallout. I think it would have to release earlier.
Yeah, and you might be right, but it's Kojima.
Yeah, it would have to be July or August, though, right? Or maybe they'll take that early September kind of Borderlands release date.
I saw a thought that what if Halo took the Destiny slot this year and went September, because that works so well for them.
They have a release date, don't they? Didn't they say November?
Halo? No.
Yeah. No?
Did they not say November? I could.
I thought they said November.
I think they just said fall 2000.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, maybe it just.
Regardless, man, it's shaping up to be a pretty solid year. It seems
getting good, and
it's going to be an interesting one for sure. Step up. It's going to be a lot more difficult to decide Game of the Year nominees.
Yeah, I hope that's the case. Cephaclone brought up a cool another announcement that happened this week. He said, "Have you guys heard about the reveal of the new studio Platonic Games? These are the guys that are making a spiritual successor to Banjo-Kazooie. Their game is actually getting revealed this week, I believe, in Edge magazine.
Thursday?
Yeah, it's in the next day or so. And they basically said, 3D platform. They showed like a concept art image of two characters' eyeballs, and it's going back to sort of that Baron Bird collectathon concept. How does that kind of game sound to you? Like with PS4, Xbox One type graphics, a old school platformer, not Mario, new characters. Is this something that's destined for bargain bins, or do you see it having appeal?
I don't know, man. Banjo-Kazooie was a game of its time, I think. Nobody wants to sit, like, people criticize collectathons now. And back then, that was really fun, get all those jiggy pieces or whatever, but I don't think people are looking to do that necessarily anymore. So
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it'll be an interesting element of, like, how many people want to do it. But I also think that we've seen an interesting, like, trend over the last year and a half or so of, like, look at Darkest Dungeon, Shovel Knight. It's games that go back, like, to those, like, NES experiences, turn-based RPG experiences, polish them up, add an interesting twist or a mechanic to them, and then throw them into a modern video game market, right? So I think that if they executed the same way, what prevents it from being successful, just like Shovel Knight or Darkest Dungeon?
Yeah. Zach maybe has an answer for this, because I didn't really read about it at all. Like, what backing do they have? Like, who is going to give them the big push to to put them to get eyes on them? I don't know.
It doesn't sound like they are finalized with it. This obviously is not a game coming out this year. They made mentioned that they did want to sort of align with somebody, and they brought up Nintendo, that they've worked with them before. Obviously, they would love to work with them again, bringing it to the Wii U if fans were behind that. I'm guessing they unveil some sort of, whether it's Kickstarter or something like that. It sounds like it's going to go more that way, as opposed to like, hey, we have $20 million, we're bringing you this AAA game. I mean, if you look at Mario 3D World, that game was still very fun in 2014 or 2013, and it's not a collectathon, but you're still like seeking out stars, doing little mini objectives within the levels. I think that game has a place nowadays, especially because it's something fresh. In the same way that we see Shovel Knight or some of these games, Castle in the Darkness, which I got some time with this week, having like refreshed appeal because they haven't been seen for a long time. It's a novel concept, but if it is, like you said, Max, like improved upon, there's no reason it couldn't be a hit. I just think it runs into the same problem that many Nintendo games have, which is the demographic appeal is very small. People are going to see, they're talking, I was reading through some, people are lightening the image and photoshopping and trying to figure out what these characters are, and people are talking like a lizard and an owl or some different things, Hawaiian themed, which sounds like awesome to me, but I think you put like a cute lizard and like a cool owl on the cover of a game and people are going to be like,
well, yeah, on a typical game. But then if we talk about like, any mobile game, it's all like that, right? Like it's all cutesy and cartoony. So there, like you can make a lot of money with that type of art style as well. It's just, again, I think at the end of the day, it's going to come down, what is the business model? Like, are they going to be like, yeah, this is going to be a consoles game and it's going to be a downloadable title, or this is going to be a full price retail release, because then you also right away adjust like how harshly do you judge it, right? Like if they come out and say, yeah, there's going to be a $15 game, that's a very different appeal than, hey, here's a $60 collectathon made by a relatively small studio. Then you have a harder time justifying it, and that's why I think that what you pointed out, like that segment, is going to vary based on who do they go to,
What market are they really going after? I think it's cool. Microsoft has also said that Rare is going to be reviving an IP this year at E3, whether that's Battletoads, actual Banjo-Kazooie, Jet Force Gemini, something, whatever.
Perfect Dark, maybe. I don't know, man.
Oh, Zero is like.
Yeah, I know it's terrible, but I don't know. To me, I think Perfect Dark has more of appeal in 2015. A woman in a shooter has more appeal than any of the games you mentioned. Really, I don't want to single any of them out, but
who knows? I just like the fact that whatever it is, it seems like it'll be a genre that is typically not overcrowded. If we look at like all the games we've mentioned we're hyped for, MGS, Fallout 4, Uncharted 4, Halo, they're all shooters, when you boil it down. So getting something different, whatever it is, I like that. And I really this week was really eye-opening for me because I played such a variety from Evolve back to Majora's Mask 3D, Darkest Dungeon, like a huge variety of games. And what it kind of made me really appreciate it is the wide variety. And all right, well, let's do something really weird here, and let's quickly talk about Darkest Dungeon before Evolve, just to give some. I think it deserves a spotlight. Max, I know you downloaded it. Gabe, you played it. You were the one who were kind of inching me to play it. It's
an early access, by the way. Let's also mention this.
Yeah,
a game that is in early access that looks better and plays more complete than completed games. Which
that's like a finished game, man.
Yeah. Their early access seems to be like just sort of like numbers and stats and systems, like that kind of stuff behind the scenes, as opposed to like, well, we got one level. Like they seem to have a big game there that they want to.
Again, going back to our last topic, you see, there's evolution in the early access model, right? And look how much success they're having, right? People are noticing it. So I think that it's, you see, like other companies now are going to look at them and be like, hey, that's what we should do, is release a good quality product.
Darkest Dungeon was a Kickstarter game. It comes in at, I think, $20 on Steam. It might be $17.99 for the week. And it is basically a hardcore side-scrolling roguelike dungeon RPG adventure game.
Yeah, that's a mouthful. You nailed it. It's perfect.
With some brutal systems But I feel like there is a clarity beneath the complexity that a lot of games struggle with. And Gabe, I don't know how you felt about it, but I first played and I was totally overwhelmed. Like, you open it up, there's all these stats, all these little damage, percentage this and stress percentage this and meters. But if you give it about, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, get through the tutorial.
before you know it, you're feeling very comfortable with the world, and it becomes more about just playing the game rather than micromanaging all these systems. A lot of that seems so stressful up front. Funny that there's a stress meter in this game. It seems stressful up front, but then it kind of fades, and all that little intricacy isn't as important as the adventure you're having with these characters and trying to keep them alive.
Yeah, man, that I fail to think of a more rewarding game than that.
Really?
Like lately, I don't mean of all time. I mean
sure.
in recent memory. Like, man, when you're in some of those later dungeons, you have your party, right? You're getting towards the end. You know what your objective is the whole time, so you're almost there, and everybody's so stressed. Everybody's freaking out. You know, you have party members attacking other party members. You're out of torches to light a fire. I mean, we'll get into all the mechanics in a while because no one knows what the hell I'm talking about if you haven't played it. But when you finish it and you survive and you didn't lose anyone because there is permadeath. You lose a character, they're gone forever. Man, that's so rewarding. Have you guys had anything like that yet?
Yeah, I think what it does really well is you feel like you open up your PC or your laptop, you play a dungeon, you close it, and it feels like you went on the adventure because it is so intense. And just to give a little more info, what differentiates this game kind of is that there's all these systems and traits going on with the character. So your character might be very afraid of the dark. So if it gets too dark, he's building stress. And what this stress meter eventually leads to is either a chance for your character to come through and have a crazily positive stat boost or a crazily negative. And like I think the worst one is like the worst I've seen is like the masochism perk.
Oh yeah, where they like to hurt themselves.
Right, and you'll try to heal them, and they'll be like I thrive under pain, or like the blood on my jacket looks good, or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, okay, so you're almost like, it feels like you're the parent of this group of four like wanderers, and you're trying to be like, I hope you're okay, I hope you can make it, and then they'll come up with their own little quips, and like, I don't know, it's something that strikes you very early on as like, they knew what they were doing. Like, it doesn't feel early access, like we mentioned, in the sense of like, oh, we got this idea, I hope it works. It's like, they knew what they wanted to make, they made it, and the people that did it like did a darn good job of putting it together.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I have not had a chance to play it, but I've seen other people play it before, and yeah, it just looks cool. Again, I love that whole, like I said before, like the trend of take old gameplay mechanics and everything and modernize them and bring them into the modern world, and adding this stress system. It just changes the whole combat system completely. Like, just that one element completely changes everything. You know, like from what I saw one time, I don't remember who was live streaming. I wish I could give the person a credit, but I'm not. We'll just
say it was me.
Sure, yeah, it was game.
Yeah.
And he had one of the characters like block or something, like to be in the front, like to take damage. Because the character was stressed out, he like pushed his medic forward or something. So it's just like, that's so cool, like how that element just starts building and adding like unpredictability to the whole way of like that whole system that we traditionally have routinely been kind of coached how to do. So I don't know, I just really like that whole
positioning is really important in the game. There's different classes. Obviously, like a healer wants to be towards the back so he can heal you, things like that. There's also some people that do rangers damage, so they also prefer to be towards the back, and your more soldier-like people are towards the front, right? But during the battle, either stress can do it or enemies can do it with their attack, but they can get shifted around, and it's about how you figure out how to make the best of a bad situation. When your healer's in the front and she's taking the most damage, she typically has the least amount of health, like things like that you have to figure out. It's super interesting.
Yeah, it's more like instead of like managing success, where you would typically do that, like how do I be the most successful? Here you're managing failure. It's like, how do I make sure that I suffer and lose as little as possible, instead of, hey, how do we win this situation?
Exactly.
Yeah, and just to clarify a little bit, you're taking a team of characters into a dungeon. You're moving with like the WASD keys, but when you get to a battle, it then becomes turn-based and very hardcore traditional. Positioning matters, attacks matter. You've got decimal points of health that you're caring for, and then after the dungeon, you'll get loot along the way. Get back to town. You can upgrade your characters. Some might need to rest because they're too stressed out. You can recruit new ones. I think it does a just remarkable job of having all of this stuff and yet making it understandable in some weird way. Like even without a guide, there were a couple things I wanted to look up for more, just detailed information. But you can kind of like get it. I played another game this week called Sunless Sea that was getting insane review scores. Man, that game is dense, and I played it, and I did not like it. I didn't know what was going on. But Darkest Dungeon, it's basically like the Dark Souls of side-scrolling dungeon game. I mean, like, Gabe, what would you compare it most to? Like, is there anything that you really, like, align it with?
It's tough, because it's a mixture of things. See, because you want to say it has, like, maybe some Final Fantasy Tactics elements, but... that's not necessarily side-scrolling. Like it has, I mean, the battle system I would compare it more to like I don't know, maybe Chrono Trigger. I mean Chrono, I mean those older RPGs, things like that.
It is totally stopped. There's no like real-time anything.
You can sit there and like if you're doing a Let's Play and it's your turn, you can sit there and talk for 10 minutes if you want. No one's gonna attack you. Right. And people complain that those battle systems are boring, that they're old, but they work so well. And with the addition of, like you said, the stress meter, and one other thing, man, I was just thinking about it while you were talking, that this game, the thing when you lose all your HP, typically you die, right? But here you're at death's door. Like you don't quite lose. You have 0 HP. One more hit will probably kill you, but you have one last chance to heal them up if you're able to pull that off. And I can't think of any game that's done that. Maybe people can let me know in the comments if they can think of something like that. But just small, subtle changes. What would I compare it to? I don't know, man. Some Final Fantasy Tactics.
To me, it borrows a little bit from FTL, like an RPG version of FTL. Because one thing I like a lot about it is they give very little personality to the characters, but through the art and through their attacks, like you kind of get to know them. Like this guy is sort of
persona for them. Yeah.
Right, and I love the fact that you kind of build that up. It reminds me a lot of a game. Totally different systems, but Card Hunter, I don't know if either of you played that. It was an indie game that came out a couple of years ago, and what they tried to replicate was a board card game with little like pawns, but it had permadeath and it had little characters, and all you would do is name them, and that's what. Can you rename here? Like I don't know if you even can rename.
Yeah, yes you can.
Okay, you can. So that's all the influence you have. Other than that, they kind of have like a few little traits, like maybe this person is a thief and so they can get more loot, or this person has depression and so in battles they lose a couple accuracy points. Other than that though, like you gain attachment because that guy saved you in that big battle, or this person went freaking crazy, or oh my god, they got stuck in a trap and they died that way. And so you build up these stories sort of in the same way of FTL, of like very little info, very little dialogue, very little even art, really. It's pretty minimalistic, but then your imagination, almost like a good novel, like fills in the gaps, and so you build up these characters as like my knight who's at the front of my party all the time. Like he is like my soldier, my
you're Reynold. I believe everybody gets that name.
Yeah,
right?
because
he is Reynold.
I would call him Arnold.
I'd call him General Joe.
And I would just scream, "Get to the chopper! Get down! Oh my god!"
Yeah, and all their characteristics also play into how you decrease their stress levels, because some of them rather go to the abbey and pray, or have like some meditation. Others rather go gamble and drink at the pub.
Oh, and I love how you kind of have to balance your team like that. Like, hey, do I want to risk this character going insane and send them back into the dungeon because they're a good level, they got the right stats and their skills, or do I recruit somebody new and protect this person for a future mission? Because ultimately, like, hey, my main guy, my knight, like, if he's getting stressed out, I don't want to risk losing him. I need to save his stuff for a future dungeon.
Yeah, I'd rather lose one of these people that's new.
Pardon me. I just feel like the coolest part is, like, from what we're speaking about, like, again, I haven't played it, so I'll try to report maybe next week, like, what I actually think of the game.
Sweet.
But from watching it and everything, and from what you guys are saying, it just sounds like, again, from what we're describing, and I'm sure there's people sitting there like, oh my god, that sounds overwhelming and that's so complicated. But I think that what you said before, Zach, is like perfectly touches on that this game is like complicated as heck when you try to explain it, but when you play it, the actual system is simple. It's like bare bones, like it works, And I think that like that's really the pinnacle, in my opinion, of like design, is if you can make something that is ridiculously complex simple. Like that's why the iPhone is so successful, is because Steve Jobs said, let's not add stuff to it, let's take away and make it simple. And that's really what they do is like they somehow like that's why I think Hearthstone is so popular is because it's such a easy game to like get into, but once you start playing you're like, oh my god, there's so much things to consider. There's card drops, how many cards do you have, how much mana, like there's all these layers and layers. And it also reminds me of a game, I don't know if you guys played it last year, Child of Light.
Oh yeah,
Ubisoft.
Well, Child of Light was really simple.
No, but they also did changes to the combat system, right? Like they and then when you play that game, it was also a lot more in depth. Like when you would start considering like elements, like oh wait, do I attack here? Do I defend? Maybe I attack quickly. Yeah, so it's like it's that kind of stuff where when you're explaining it, it sounds complicated, but when you're playing it, it's like oh, that's really intuitive and it's natural. You don't think about it.
It has natural breaks, which I love as well, similar to Hearthstone, albeit different genres. Like you can play a dungeon in about 30 minutes. Would you say, Gabe?
A little bit. Depends on the difficulty of the dungeon. Right. So I mean, some can be done like in 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah. So you can get in and get out and feel like you had an experience. Like I feel like stuff like that is really cool, where you can play a level or do something and have satisfaction, leave the game and come back. And it.
Don't shoot me, Zach. Don't shoot me. But this might be a good iPad game. If they can get this on iPad, and I mean touch-based, I mean because you're not doing because there's not a lot of input. You can also move the character with your mouse.
Absolutely.
The only thing that they would struggle with is like the hover of the stats. Like when you're hovering over something, it gives more information. They'd have to find a way to do that. But the criticism I've heard levied against it from the people who don't like it, just to kind of give that other side, and Gabe, I want to know what you think, is like so much of this game, what we like about it is dice rolls behind the scenes. And is this game just basically like randomizing so much to the point that your level of control, like you're basically playing a story rather than winning the game? Like because you get to a stressed out level, your guy could come through, he could not, and your successor failure is more like living out this choose your own adventure rather than actually like skillfully winning every battle.
Well, there's sort of, but all right, you're saying the most random part is the stress level, right? You can do things to bring your stress level down. Like there's not a potion you can use necessarily, but your healer has an ability that can lower the stress. You can you can attach an item that will increase your ability to have a critical hit, and when you do a critical hit, your stress goes down. So you can. It's not completely random. You have some level of control over what's happening. If your character's at 100 stress level, it's usually your fault. You let it get too dark. You didn't
You're a bad brute mom.
Yeah, you didn't disable the traps. Like you're doing things to get him to that level. It's not just randomly getting stressed out for no reason.
Yeah, I almost think that random element is why it's so successful for me. In a way like FTL was, or even in a way like let's boil this way down. You know those like you put a quarter in or whatever you guys have in Canada, wooden pieces, right?
Oh yeah.
And
your piece of tree, yeah.
You put it in and you like get like a capsule and it's like a random toy. That stuff is successful. Games of chance are successful. Lottery tickets are successful.
Because there's the excitement.
Because there's the excitement of like.
Let's talk about loot crate and all that. Why is it exciting? Because you don't know what you're getting. You give them
hit it up, loot crate.
You give them a certain amount of money, and then you get this box once a month, and it's like that Christmas thing, you know? Where like,
it's almost exciting.
What is in there?
Character gets super stressed out or hits death's door because you're like.
It's unpredictable.
Is he going to come through and be a valiant hero? Is he going to gain a new skill, or is he going to wither in the face of all of this death and destruction? Like that element, almost as negative as it could be, sort of looked at, kind of is one of the game's strongest points. That
absolutely
you go into these storylines and you're building it, and then something happens, and it almost feels like you've got a writer sitting above you, kind of like penning in the adventure, and you're just flipping the pages and like what happens next, there's a little bit of that element to it.
It's like that D&D kind of thing experience, like I've never played it before, but it's kind of that thing, right, where there's like almost like an overarching narrator, and it's almost like you are the narrator because you give the characters personalities, but then there's something all of a sudden unpredictable happens. You're like, oh man, no, we can't lose not John, but it's like if it happens, it happens, and then you build in your mind like some sort of story. Do you continue? Do you not continue? To be fair, I guess there's that audience that is going to look at that negatively and say, hey, I want to be able to invest myself in this character, and if I put my time into grinding down and traditionally leveling up this character, knowing that it's going to be strong and managing it properly, I don't want this character to die, and I don't want anything unpredictable.
If you manage it properly, he will not die.
That's also true. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
I mean,
But
there's
I
a
just
little
think
bit of
maybe
like you
people
can't.
don't like that unpredictable
I think
element.
the game is built for some characters to perish. Like if you
Oh
were
yeah,
able, I mean,
people are gonna die. Yeah, of
yeah.
course. But if you're like really attached to one guy, you can't make certain that he never will, but it won't be likely. You have some level of control.
Yeah, I love the limitations too. Like as you progress through bigger dungeons, you'll have an opportunity to camp mid dungeon where you can sort of re-heal up, and characters have skills that can only be used in camp. So like a guy could sing a song that will reduce the stress of your party, or the mage or the medic can go over and spend one of her skill points to heal, bandage someone up.
Zach,
Like there's
what song do you think he sings? How does it go?
What? Oh, a song?
Yeah, what's the song?
There's no.
Is there a song in the game? Does he sing?
No, there isn't.
I don't think so, but I just thought maybe you could.
I picture it being the DK rap. That's what I like to imagine.
Oh, really?
Everybody sits around. DK rap surprised the heck out of me. Let's drive back to Nintendo history. DK rap says he's one hell of a guy, which to me is very risque for Nintendo back in that era.
Yeah, of course. Very risky, especially what these guys see on a daily basis. For them, hearing "hell of a guy," maybe we could update it for the more modern time with "Hella," which is a good transition to another game that I played this week.
Yeah, give us your quick just thoughts on Life is Strange.
It's strange.
Is it?
It is.
No, I think it's cool. I really like the characters.
Did we build it up too much?
A little bit, but I think that there is problems with dialogue. I think that some of the stuff feels very kind of ham-handed, like really forced. Like when I was trying to make one specific decision, is like when you spot a girl and a guard, and they're having a bit of a disagreement there, without spoiling any names or anything, and you are kind of peeking on it. You have like two main choices to make. And when you make one of them, which is the one I did first, then it like makes you feel guilty for choosing that option. Like the game literally says like, oh, like it almost tells you that was the wrong decision. Like it does it straight up.
I mean, I kind of view that as like trying to encourage you to use the mechanic of rewinding. Like,
yeah, I know, but then
I could go back
then it's like, then how are my decisions eventful?
Well, did you go back and change that one?
Yes, I did.
Because then the other side doesn't really play out all that great. Like,
yeah, I that's why I was like, yeah, I have to change that. So I changed my decision there and everything. But I just feel like, again, I would want to see, like what we said before, where does this game go next? Because it's got a good foundation. I love the fact that they, I know maybe this is a little risque and some people are going to find it offensive or something, but I love the fact that they didn't go right away with like a lesbian relationship and they're keeping it just a friend relationship. Because that would have been the easy thing to do. Let's be honest, right?
Well, I mentioned it before. Like there is lesbianic tones, like and again, like,
but not for the main character. I think is what Max.
No, not for the main character.
No, I'm talking about the main character. And the other character that you meet at the ladder of the game, because I think that would have been the easiest thing for them to do, is like develop a love story around that. There is obviously lesbian tones and everything, which is good, but I just think that it's good that we get a female character that isn't right away supposed to be like gay or something like that. I just think because I think that that's something gaming does a lot and like way too often. So I think that again it's good to have varied content, and I think that this is a good thing that they're not doing that thing right away of like, hey, maybe they develop into that relationship, which is great, but I just think it's great they didn't blatantly say, oh yeah, they're interested in each other and more so than just friends.
So, are you excited for episode 2 now?
Yes, I think that the best thing I could say for this game is that it makes me want to see what happens next. Is it flawless? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Would I give this game like an amazing rating? No. But I also think that this is a game that you can't judge on one episode. Yeah. Like, even though that's how it comes out, I don't think that, like, this is literally, it's so, because it literally just like lays down breadcrumbs everywhere, and now it's like, how's the meal gonna be? There's my analogy, food analogy. Boom shakalaka.
Every week. Did you like how like you got to be in this unique gaming role? Like you're yelled at by another fellow bitchy student. Like you're like just things that you don't ever really see in games.
Yeah, like the actual context was cool because it's like it makes you feel like you're in one of those like Breakfast Club kind of like old school 90s 80s kind of comedy, high school drama comedy type thing,
Right.
which is awesome. I love how the whole concept, like I also love just the element of like a game that's all about decisions gives you control over time. Like it's a cool novel concept. I just don't want the some of the decisions to be so like heavily like, oh, that was the bad thing, like make you feel bad for making the decision that you did. I think that it needs to just like kind of maintain the decisions to be more neutral, not as well. Maybe neutral is bad because then it's not, you feel like you're not really doing anything. But I don't know, I just feel like sometimes the game's a little bit too strong about like making you feel guilty for a decision that you make,
I think that's just a character. I don't think that's the game necessarily trying to convey that.
Yeah, maybe it's just me personally,
That's just how Max is. Not you, Max. The Max of the game.
It might be just the way I am too as a player, where I feel guilty, where somebody else will be like, whatever, she got hit in the head with a football, who cares, you know? So it's just one of those things that like I think that it might be different as we go on. I also really, really love the idea of her being a photographer, because a photographer always looks for the perfect shot, and she has control over time. So it's like she can always get the perfect shot, So I found that was kind of an interesting little element to explore as well,
I have a question, Max, because there's a lot of things like we don't even really know what the game's about yet, like because I asked this to Zach when he had finished it. What intrigues you the most? Is it the missing person thing? Is it the paranormal thing that's about to happen? That with the, I mean, we spoiled it. We've talked about that huge tornado thing, so I think
I just like the characters. So it's like I just want to see what happens with the characters more so than the world that they're in. I think that there's again some flaws of like how she gets this power and she's like, she's so obvious about, oh, maybe I could just turn back the time and answer different, answer the question the way he's gonna ask me or whatever. But it's just like at the very beginning of the game, when the professor asks you a question. So it's just, I think that there is definitely flaws. Like she's too accepting of it, and then all of a sudden towards the latter part of the game she's like, I don't even know how it works yet, but yet
there's a lot of foundation
laid.
You just haven't seen any of the follow-up.
So I think that again it's going to be interesting to see how it folds out, because there's a lot of mystery with these characters. Like this father character, he's a security guard, but why is he so protective?
Something weird's going on with the school, like
whereas like his daughter is super free, and her whole thing is about just freedom of expression and just doing whatever you want. And then you've got this friendship relationship that has kind of dwindled down, but now it's starting to rebuild back up, depending on the decisions you've made, of course. And then, of course, over all of that, you've got this natural disaster hovering over it all. And how does your character maybe convince everybody that it's going to happen? Will it happen? Is this all just an illusion in her mind?
Right.
It's definitely cool, but at the end of the day, I think the thing that's most interesting is the characters themselves, not so much the.
So you don't necessarily care about the situations as much, just more.
Look. The natural disaster is definitely like, oh, what is this? It definitely adds an element, but I'm more so interested to see, like I'm interested to see in terms of like, okay, how does Max go back to school now that the principal feels a certain way about her, and there's a certain student that feels a certain way about her.
Yeah.
And so on and so forth.
I mean, not just that, but like all the weird stuff that is happening at school because something is going on, and they hint at some stuff.
Yeah.
But
and one final thing I wanted to say is I don't know if we're gonna do like a whole podcast on this, maybe when the game is fully out, or we'll do it like a episodic analysis with spoilers or something. That'd be kind of cool. But I think it's also interesting like how the game made me want to check everything. Like every room that I walked into, I was like, I always felt.
See, collectathons do work.
Yeah, but like it just felt like it made me feel like I need to read every poster. What if on some poster there's some sort of note at the bottom that gives me a hint to something, to discover something about a character or give me a certain piece of information. So I think it rewards you for being a detective, which is good.
Have you heard of a game called Evolve?
Yes.
Wait.
Once or twice.
Max got his small game, and I want to get mine.
Here we go.
Castle in the Darkness.
We'll get that after. We're not gonna forget it. Don't worry. I just want to get to the monster in the room, which is.
Gabe, we just gotta evolve, okay? We gotta evolve this conversation.
I'm gonna turn the floor over to you guys first. I have my evolve opinion, but I want to know from two players who got the game and played it, like. What I mean, there's so many things to talk about. The DLC, the price, whatever. But just the straight up game. Like, how do you feel about that?
It's fun. We played it yesterday. You know, me, you, and Scott. That was a great time. Like, to me, the biggest takeaway is that it sucks that something that has absolutely nothing to do with the game, such as the DLC or the way that 2K decided to roll all of this out, can impact the game. Because I would be lying if I said that it didn't sour it for me just a tad bit.
Sour it, like actually sour it, because or just like the whole like kerfluffle of it, because like your experience wasn't affected by it.
No. Like when we were playing, like I mean, it's a good time, and obviously the DLC doesn't affect that. Though all this drama that's going on in the background, it doesn't affect the gameplay. I do believe that it is overpriced. At first I didn't think so. You know, even when you had mentioned it a long time ago, you said, you know, should this have been $40? I think it should have been $40. Yeah, I think this would have been a much better experience overall. I think the DLC would have gone over a lot better with people if this was a $40 game.
Yeah, because I think then, you see, the problem is when you say stuff like, it's unfortunate that the way that the product was delivered, but the product is good. It's like it doesn't, like, to me that's part of the product. You know what I mean? The means by which you acquire or sell me the product is just as important as the product is, right? Like
if you think so?
Yeah, of course. If
maybe another stuff, but video games.
No, I think that it's becoming more and more prevalent and becoming a part of the conversation now. The way that you're going to give me the product, or I'm going to have access to the product, or whatever it is, because it clearly impacts the way that you're going to enjoy it. You're not just buying the one good. It's a product, so it's everything that encompasses that product to be consumed by you in whatever way, shape, or form you're saying. So for me, it absolutely does cloud my judgment, and I do disagree with the way that it goes. With that in mind, I think that the game should have had some sort of a campaign or some sort of a narrative to it in order to be at this price point.
Is that your big reason as well, Gabe? $40 because no single player?
Yeah, well, not just single player. There's just not enough there. I don't care if it's more stuff that's multiplayer, but there's just not enough there as it currently stands.
Yeah, it's just not it. I played the game for probably, I don't know, 3 to 4 hours, I would say. So to be fair, maybe I'm.
That's a good chunk, though.
Yeah, I'm too fast to judge it or something. But
you've experienced
I played the beta before. Yeah, I've played the beta, both of the betas as well. So, and then I've played it at PAX. So I've had a decent amount of time with the game, and I've had 3 experiences already where I felt like the game got boring, and all of them were when I was the hunter. All 3 of them. All 3 of them were when I wasn't playing with other people, and all of them were kind of similar situations of where very early in the game it felt like we were going to lose. Like, you know what I mean? It was obvious that we were going to lose, and that's something that sucks because then you're just playing 30 minutes of a loss.
Right.
You know, I think that it's very, very kind of non-enjoyable in that regard, where a lot of times it feels like the early stage of the game decides the way the game is going to end. Now, when you have friends playing, the good thing there is that you can turn it around.
Right.
There's room to turn it, both as a monster and when you're with friends. So when you're playing with hunters, you need friends to turn it around, but when you're a monster, the good thing is that if you can figure out a way to get away and eat and evolve, obviously, you can switch the game around in your favor, which is nice. So I like that.
Things you're saying, like, kind of make it my favorite MOBA, and it borrows a lot just in terms of, like, oh, if you're playing with randoms, you could be done in the first 2 minutes and still have to play through a 30-minute match. The ability to turn it around, the skills, the mastering of sort of, very limited set of abilities. It borrows a lot from MOBAs, even though it's taking shape as a first-person shooter.
And it's $60 versus MOBAs being free.
We'll get to our experience in a second, but I feel like it's I don't know how they win with this because like let me just lay this out for you. At $60 you have like let's say The Legend of Zelda, okay? $60 Legend of Zelda single player campaign. At $60 you have Tomb Raider, a game that had single player and multiplayer, but got chastised for wasting time on multiplayer because it wasn't very good. You have
I liked some of the multiplayer for Tomb Raider. I thought it was fun.
In general, I think it got pretty.
Yeah. It would.
Call of Duty, you know, very good multiplayer that most people focus on. Some people don't even play the single player, and a respectable and a fun campaign.
Yeah.
Single player only games don't get chastised for being $60. Games that add multiplayer in when it shouldn't be there, like BioShock or Tomb Raider, get chastised. Get chastised for adding it in. Games that don't have multiplayer. I mean, I guess to me, what I would say is let's look at the polish level and let's look at the actual experience to dictate what it costs. And to me, what says $60 more than multiplayer, single player, whatever, is the fact that this game, to me, feels like a complete experience. That, I mean, maybe it doesn't have enough modes for you, maybe it doesn't have enough maps, not enough characters. I think that the way that they went about kind of framing the game makes it seem like there's far less than there is. Because I constantly hear people talking about you only start off with 3 characters, takes so long to unlock all these others.
It doesn't.
It doesn't.
It doesn't.
Really
I unlocked them all last night, like in 3 hours.
Yeah, and so
the problem is that those unlocks don't feel significant.
That's my thing.
You know what I mean?
Zach, how much?
Yeah, sorry. Like the other thing is like you know how we just spoke of Darkest Dungeon and we said like how you can build these characters in your mind and you can narrate them. These characters just feel like this is the character, deal with it. You know, I would have rather if this is what you're gonna go with, a multiplayer only approach. Let me be me. Like let me customize things. Give me more room for making Hank feel like my Hank, not Zach's Hank or Jimmy Johnson's Hank, you know, like give me more room for customization, because then at least I could feel like there's depth, you know what I mean? Like I could justify it and say, hey, yes, this game that maybe doesn't have a lot of width, but this game has a lot of depth, you know what I mean? It's not.
I mean, I guess I feel like, would you have paid $60 for Last of Us without multiplayer if they wiped that mode? And that's like an 8 to 10 hour experience.
Yep. Yeah, I probably
I mean, how is that more justified for?
Because Last of Us feels like, look, first of all, there's a lot of value in the actual narrative. Like you're experiencing a certain story, a certain element. Whereas here, you're telling me like, hey.
So you don't feel the game is very good? Like
no, the game is good. But then the thing with The Last of Us is if the servers aren't working, you can still play the story.
You can still play
everything. Aren't working, you can play solo, but it's not as fun. Like an hour and 20 minutes.
Don't play this. Like this game is not meant for
Zach,
solo.
we just had this experience yesterday with Scott. We had an hour and 20 minutes of us trying to get into a game together.
Oh, sure, that's annoying. But that can be said about any game, and that doesn't dictate the price. The fact that the servers, I mean, is Master Chief Collection then a $5 game because the servers?
No, because then there's still a single player. There's 3 single player campaigns there.
Here, what about games that have no multiplayer? Like, how are you justifying those?
You could still play those offline.
There's offline.
Huh?
You can still play this game offline.
Yeah, but you might as well not though, because it's nowhere near the same experience.
All right.
Okay. Would you say then? What you're saying then, based on this, you right now, with a clear conscience, can recommend this game to somebody to play solo, just solo. No
They're never
interaction.
Gonna have access to the internet.
No, never. It's solo only. You think that's solo?
And you think that's the experience that Evolve is?
No.
Absolutely not.
No, but I don't think that.
But I could recommend with a clear conscience
online.
People to No, I know, but what I'm trying to say is that
if you don't have internet, don't buy it. That's like League of Legends. You can't play it without internet. Like
yeah, but League of Legends is free. But
also a far less, like the graphics and the tech behind it are far simpler.
Yeah.
One map.
Yeah, to a certain extent, for sure. But I think that the thing that again made me worried about this game is repetitive. Number one. And number two, what I experienced where you need, if you're a hunter, which you're most likely going to be most of the time, because just simply statistically speaking.
5-1.
There's 5 roles, 4 of them are hunters.
Yeah.
So
I guess I
feel 20% chance of you being a monster. So I just feel like when I played as a monster, this game is awesome. Like it just, there is no other games that I can even compare. Like it feels to me like I'm the Hulk. You know, I feel awesome. I get to run around. I get
only
to be
$40 awesome.
Well, that's where it
I guess
gets
it's like this quality decide.
tricky.
Like you look at something like Watch Dogs, the hype cycle of that was huge. That everyone's putting down their pre-order. They probably would have played $70 for that game. You get it, you realize the multiplayer is junk and the single player isn't that hot. I feel like the hype cycle of this game and now the unfortunate, whatever you want to call it, DLC cycle or press cycle,
the marketing
has really messed up people's views of this game, and the dialogue that has been spoken on the game. Like honestly,
like the game, but more so the actual like marketing.
Well, and I'm going to say this and sound snotty, but I don't mean it to be. I feel like this is a game that your skill level directly correlates to your enjoyment. Like if you suck at this game or you can't get a handle on it, it doesn't hold your hand, and you're not going to have fun.
But you could say the same thing about Call of Duty,
but
right? Because Call of Duty multiplayer is when you don't play it for a while and you drop in, it is horrifying and it is frustrating and you're just dead.
That's very true.
But
I just feel like Call of Duty maybe a little bit. It's more straightforward. Like
this game is.
See, man, and then I want to ask a question, but I'm also not trying to call Zach out. But I just genuinely want to know.
Yeah.
Like, but. If you weren't playing this for YouTube, would you still be playing it?
Yeah, like let's set a disclaimer. I have not been paid a single penny by 2K to play the game.
Yeah, I'm sure you're gonna get.
I bought my own copy for $79.99 on the Xbox Live, or $89, whatever the deluxe. Like I made sure I bought my own copy. I did not use their copy for.
I can testify that. I can testify that.
I did get early PC code to play the game and do that, but I did not get any promotion. In fact, I was offered promotions and turned them down specifically because I didn't want anything to be tarnished by that.
Yeah, and to be fair, like again, another justification here is like it's not like you're saying that this is like a 10 out of 10. You still see the flaws. With
I still see the flaws.
So it's like because I don't want anybody to just be like, oh, Zach is just because he got early access and stuff. That's why he's just gonna speak.
I don't think
because he wants to maintain a good relationship with them. So
to me, like. I'm going to use Watch Dogs because it's the most recent in my mind. If like massive hype and then a game that underdelivers, to me, Evolve had terrible hype. Like honestly, it
I don't
drove.
Think so.
Well,
when I was at PAX, people that was the game that everybody said. Everybody said it's.
But people talking about I listen to podcasts and like I don't know if they just aren't good or they don't get it, but I hear them talking like we mentioned at the beginning, like 10 hours to like.
Yeah, that makes no sense. And I mean, I think the game is good.
But to be fair, look, if there is a big enough group of people that say that, then maybe it is an issue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because again,
it's a demanding game. I feel like it.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, that certainly could be the case. But again, I just think this game in general just has its work cut out for it because. People right away, people have a negative context about the business model, right? So that's right away already, you're already off to a negative basis, a negative foundation. Then on that, you build the whole concept of, hey, not only that, but we're going to need you to be invested in this and like figure out how the game works and kind of like, you have to work for it. And that's why people look at that and they're like, oh my god, and then I don't get single player and I have to I most of the time would have to be playing with other people to actually experience it to its fullest potential. So I just think that there's a lot of asterisks next to this game, and then that's why at the end of when you come to the bottom line, people put a price point to that and they think $60, no thank you.
Right. I would kind of compare it to sports games in a way. Like if you buy NBA, like that is much more fun against other people. You can still play against the computer.
You have the career mode and create a character.
It's a little different because I think that the sports game a lot of times they're simulation games.
But you're still repeating the same.
But
better than other people.
Yeah, but you're repeating the sport that you love watching, right? Like for example, I'm a big fan of football. I mean soccer. And like to me, I play FIFA Online. Ultimate Team is a ton of fun. Don't get me wrong. But I can also after watching a Barcelona game, I don't have any problem hopping on popping the disc in and replaying the match as I would want to see it unfold, you know, or just for fun, like a quick little experience. So I think that
sure.
I
guess I'm speaking like from a content point, like you could say like there's one like very few modes or like very few like you're repeating. I know you can do different. I mean, look, let me do it this way. What I love about Evolve is the fact that to me it feels like a competitive game that's tackling a unique space that would typically be in a single player game. Context, like a boss fight that is controlled by both parties and has a competitive flair to it is something that doesn't really fall into first-person shooter military, doesn't fall into strict MOBA, doesn't fall into sports, doesn't like it holds its own space, which I think makes it very appealing to someone like me who really likes the MOBA idea, who really likes bosses and creatures, who really likes shooters, and here we're putting them together in a very unique way. Now, does it appeal to everyone? No. Does it have like significant? Sorry. You're fine. Dogs are cool.
That's my dog. My bad.
Like dogs.
It's evolving. It's evolving.
Every time I hear the word evolve, it's like that word is forever ruined to me. I just like hear Goliath go in the back of my mind. But there is something to me, and perhaps it is an experience thing. Like honestly, I feel like this game hits its stride in 3 months, and I worry that there won't be
enough of a user base.
How did I ask you that? Do you think people are playing this in 3 months, man?
I mean, to me, like here's the best and the worst part of this game. The best part is the more you play, the better you get, the more fun it is. But the flip side of that is I've seen so many matches watching people on Twitch and YouTube where you're playing against a monster who's like running in circles or doesn't know what they're doing, and that ruins the experience for both sides. It is so.
It's so conditional. It's conditions. Like it depends on the condition of the other players and that match, which is again that's the problem. It's like in the perfect condition. Like seriously, I've had 1 or 2 matches where it was for sure some of the most fun things I've ever played. Like by far, just an incredibly fun time. Like when you have a group of friends and ideally maybe even a friend is playing the monster and you're in a Skype call and everybody's shouting. It's literally as fun can be. But the problem is, again, you need those conditions. You know, it's like if you've got conditions A, B, C, D.
And the counter to that, I guess, I would say is that, to me, and this is just me, not the hunters, but being the monster, which I feel is the better. I heard a bunch of people talking about saying that they thought the hunters were so much more fun, which I mean, the monster to me is like where this.
To me, they're equally fun. They're both fun in their own way.
I love the monster. Awesome.
If you can't get your friend core together, like playing the monster against the AI is.
It doesn't guarantee that you will be the monster, though. That's the problem.
No, I'm saying straight up against the AI. Like solo. To me, that is still a worthwhile experience, and one that if you tweak it to the hard hunters, most people will lose at. Like playing the game, and therefore there is some challenge and opportunity there. I feel like given the right conditions, this game soars. It is hard to establish those conditions, but I do feel like the rap that this game has gotten is that it's like a half-baked, pay your way type fest, and it's not. And
there is no pay your way. Like everything you're buying is aesthetics only. Like you're having the same experience as everyone else. Like.
And I think the characters are
well, I mean, the characters are obviously not just aesthetics. Like when you buy the monsters, that's going to be a big deal.
I even forgot about that completely, actually.
Yeah, like
just right now, the way
future DLC is going to obviously, but at least the good thing is that you'll still get to experience it. Like you won't get to play that monster, but at least you get to still compete against it, which I think is a very smart decision because that would have cut their user base that much more. Like their player base would have shrunk. Substantially, so that's smart. At least you could still play against those monsters, but then you get to the point of, okay, if I didn't buy that monster, then now that means I always will be like even more likely the hunter. You know
okay, Zach.
Yeah.
So, $60 or $40. What do you think this game should? Like, you think it's fully worth the 60? Like,
I mean,
or how about this? Would you wait if there's enough of a user base? Let's say. July, they come out with a Game of the Year edition.
Pretend you're average Joe and you can't afford to buy every game.
Yeah.
You're buying, Put yourself in that mind state.
Do you wait till July and get the Game of the Year for 60 with everything in, or do you think it warrants the $60 right now? Or is the answer just simply it depends, which
I
is
don't
usually
think
the
I
answer?
don't think July. I mean, definitely does depend. I don't think July is game. I mean, they're not going to give away free monsters in a couple months. Maybe December or next year.
Okay.
But
Yeah, but the month is arbitrary. Just do you wait for the Game of the Year edition for $60 for everything, or
I
would
mean,
you feel more comfortable at 40?
I think you can say that about any game. Like, oh, do you wait? Like Batman, Assassin's Creed, they all get
No, Batman,
Borderlands.
you want to have that experience right away.
Borderlands basically adds a full game with their DLC and their Game of the Year. You're getting like 5 packs. Look, like to me, I think in my like Zach's world, the game is like a 10 out of 10. In like if I was writing a review of it, I would not give it a 10 out of 10. I'd probably give it an 8 or an 8.5 because I do see the flaws. I think that to me, like it's so freaking hard. I played a lot of indie games this week, and some of them feel like they are deserved of a full price. Some of them feel very whatever, and it's like, what do you judge that on? How much you like it? How good the graphics are? There's plenty of indie games that are $5 that have gorgeous graphics and nothing to back it up.
Yeah.
It's like, what are we evaluating on? And to me, a lot of what we evaluated on, honestly, is what other people say about it. Like, is this game touted as a AAA game? If Turtle Rock came out and released this on their own, you'd expect to pay $20 for it. But it's got 2K, and it's got E3, and it's got the 30-foot Goliath, and it's got tournaments.
Yeah, well, that's marketing.
I mean, yeah, so to me, like, I think that it is unfortunate that the servers are not perfect. I mean, they did hold up. We were able to play. They didn't completely collapse. If they're I guess it's hard. There are conditions. If the servers are perfect, I think that yes, it's $60. If the servers aren't perfect, then maybe no. But at the same time, if Call of Duty servers are not perfect, I would say the same thing.
Yeah,
but there's enough in the game
Call
for you
of Duty servers are usually.
I mean, how stupid?
Because the problem is, you see, like when you have a multiplayer game, and if you don't have your servers perfect, that makes no sense.
Yeah, but how stupid is it that if they put in a 5-level campaign where you're fighting wildlife and at the end you fight each of the monsters, you would then say yes, it's worth 60. Like, how stupid is that?
No, I'm not saying that.
But I think that I don't think anybody's saying that it just needs to be there. People are saying still that it needs to be there with.
Yeah, and I'm not even saying that it needs a single-player campaign. I'm just saying it needs something else. Yeah, like, as it stands, this isn't enough.
If this game did more customization of the hunters and even the monsters as well, like just give me a variety of stuff that I can do with those characters to personalize them and just make them more my own. And
see, that's where I feel like it really comes down to a lot of your player skill / investment, because there are deep systems there. There's a lot going on, and they've play tested, I assume, the heck out of this. Again, it's like, what do you want? Do you want a game that's spread thinner with more to do, that's condensed with more polish? I don't think, though, that you. I think
you're overstating the amount of polish in this game, by the way.
I think if you step in,
the shadows go crazy sometimes. Like, there are still technical issues.
I'm not doubting that. I just think that, like, if you step in as General Joe Hunter and you're like, I'm the assault and I shoot at this one creature that maybe sucks or maybe it's good and then I'm done, that is not the same experience that I have playing, where I'm coordinating with people, where we're working together, where I'm carefully picking my perk, or the monster using the skills. And to me, there's a satisfaction in being a big creature and going and tearing apart a team of people working together. Left 4 Dead had a great mode where you would be like the monsters or zombies. That was really fun because you were disrupting people's their experience or their play. This kind of does that to a bigger extent, and like the
monster is the best part of this game. Like that they nailed, and that was of course the one thing that you couldn't mess up. You know what I mean? If that wasn't flawless, that would be a big problem.
I just think this isn't a game for the person who wants to play Call of Duty single player. It demands too much of the player. And
see, okay, but I'm not that player. And this game still might not be for me. I think it's a good game. I mean, you talk ratings, right? I would give this maybe like a 7, 7.5. I'm not saying it's a bad game.
I think it just demands a lot of the player. And you have to know that going in, and maybe they don't communicate that clearly enough.
But I know what it demands of me, and I'm ready to give it to it, and I still don't see enough of it in there. Like, what does it demand of me that I'm not willing to give to it? Like, I'll play it. Like,
well, then I guess you just don't like it, but I don't think if you...
No, I like it a lot.
Or you don't love it. If you don't love it, that doesn't mean it's $40. Like, I don't love Grand Theft Auto.
I'm not saying it's 40 because I don't... but I'm not saying it's 40 because I don't love it. I'm saying it's 40 because there's not enough there.
So you want... I guess what my question is, and then we can get off this topic, but, like, do you want more modes, more monsters, more
give me more or something. Like, just make it.
What do you want? What do you want? Like, what for Gabe's experience? What do you want in this game? Like, are you saying you wish it had 7 monsters and 20?
No, I wish it was a complete package and it doesn't feel like one. I don't know. I'm not a game designer. I don't know what you do to make it better.
So it just feels missing something.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is for me. Mm-hmm. And again, I enjoy the game immensely. Like, every time that we play together.
Now, again, people are going to give you flat. Oh, 7? How dare you? But at the end of the day, like,
you have fun with
it. Ladies and gentlemen, just so you understand, a 5 means the middle. All right? So
not a 9.
7 is good. If you go to university and you get 70% on your exam, that's a very good grade. Trust me. I know. So if you go above that, that's already you're getting to the great grades. So 7 is a very, very strong rating.
And
that's
I would give it a 7, 7.5 too.
Like, yeah, I would say that's kind of where it floats for me as well. I think that, again, it just requires a little bit too many conditions to where, and the problem is, you see, when I give it a rating, that's the rating that I would give, like, to the public.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so that's very different also, because it's like what you said. To you, it's a 10 out of 10, but when if you're evaluating it, it's lower.
Right.
So that's a very different rating system as well, to where, because I can't clear consciously say, yeah, this is a really, really amazing game, because it needs to meet conditions before it experiences as an amazing game. And that's why I would say that for people, like, yes, be cautious about that. And I personally would recommend wait. Let's hope that it has a big enough user base to when the Game of the Year edition comes out, you can pick that up and have a more complete package.
I would say that I don't know about you guys, but the main complaint I've read is, like, repetitive, not enough variety. And, like, if you take my matches, the way I've won as Wraith or Kraken, to me they feel different in the same way that in Call of Duty I'm still shooting people, but just in a different environment. And so, like, Shadow of Mordor won a lot of Game of the Year awards. I think that game has brilliant underlying foundational mechanics, like the Nemesis system is brilliant, but at a core level, you're going around slicing people's throats and, like, doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, every game is
right. So I don't think knocking it in that way. I think like, to me, the
I don't think people are referring to that. I think that what they're referring to is specifically the way the match plays out, not the game.
This is where I think that, again, like, the skill and the
yeah, but you see, then this is the problem. It's like, so then your experience will be dictated based on the other players, which. But you can go in solo, or what I recommend people do if you're having bad experiences is set up a private match, make the monster an AI, and play with your friends against a monster who is going to be competent. If you feel like you're too good for that, up the monster to the harder difficulty, and those monsters, like, I played with other people and lost to hard monsters because they wreck you, and there you're going to get that. So it's like, it's possible if you're willing to look at the whole package. I feel like people are only focusing on hunt mode against friends online, and that's it. But that's because that's the main mode that everybody plays, right? And at the end of the day, when it's a multiplayer game, that's like, because like let's say with Call of Duty, right? Like we brought it up a couple of times. I can drop into Call of Duty right now, right? No friends, nothing. Play it and have an enjoyable time. You know what I mean? Add friends, it becomes better, or depending on what kind of friends you have, but you add friends and it becomes better, more enjoyable. So that's true, but the problem is that with Evolve, I feel like when you don't have friends, it
can be a train wreck.
Yeah. It just, the enjoyment of the game, of the multiplayer experience, dwindles down. It has, at least.
It requires 5 people to know what they're doing. Call of Duty, if you have 5 crazy people, the match will still be fun, and what you're doing in that game is not so. It's more straightforward, I feel. So, like, even if people are just, like, running around with double machine guns, like, you can still play with those people, and it's fine. You can kill them. They might kill you. Here, if you have someone doing that, it's like, well, shit, the whole game has just
I mean, one hunter can ruin it for 3. Like, you can have 3 awesome players, and one bad player will ruin it the whole match for you.
I think conditionally, that is its biggest Achilles heel, is that it has that. I mean, again, I would say, like, to me, if you group up with, if me and you, Max, went and played against an AI monster versus a human monster, and it didn't say, we wouldn't know the difference.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't think we would.
Yeah. Again, like I said, I think that the monster is a 10 out of 10. Everything has to do with the monsters, the way it plays, the way they move, the variety of their perks, and the significance of each perk, like how choosing a certain combination of perks will have a significant impact on your success against certain teams. Like if it's a very aggressive team, you should, as the monster, you adjust to that. You pick the perks that are going to allow you to be defensive early on, so that you could build up, and then after that you punish them.
Right. And one thing,
I think the monsters are awesome, and I don't say anything bad about that. But again, I just think that the other experience, which is the one you're most likely going to have.
True. And I mean, I think I really.
And it could be a case of, by the way, the monster is so awesome that by comparison, the hunters suck.
Well, and one thing I will give it is that there is the opportunity, and again, a bad seed can ruin the experience, but there is the opportunity to like flip the battle back and forth multiple times, which I think is something that's pretty cool if they achieve. Like you can really get down to low health, go hunt around, maybe pick up a perk, build your armor back up, and if you're skillful enough and you pick the right skills, you can come back and turn that around. And there isn't as much doom and gloom, except if specific roles the hunters are not doing their job. I think again it's just like, so can we conditionally, because of those conditions, do we then lower the price point? I will say, like, look, straight up honest, if this game lasts a year and comes in with 7 monsters and you know whatever 22 hunters or whatever it be 24 hunters, like then yes, it's a better game, and that's unfortunate to say. It's just true, because then there would be more variety, there would be more options, but you'd still run into the same problem. So I almost take back what I just said, because the issues that people are having with this game, the issues I have with this game would remain. If a bad hunter's there, it doesn't matter if they're tier 5 hunter or tier 1, if it's a bad monster. I mean, just to get really down and dirty, a couple knocks I have against the game are, one, I wish that it was more clear who you were facing off against before the match started. I wish I knew who the monster was so I could pick my hunters.
You're right.
I wish I could pick my team. Like if you're in a tournament and you know who you're playing against and they're setting all the stations up, then you see we're playing Kraken and so blah, blah, blah. But in like an online space, it would be nice if I could see who the monster was, so I could be like, oh, I'd rather be Lazarus against Wraith because I don't want to get down penalties, because that's sort of Wraith's tactic. Maybe they did that so you can't game the system, but I wish there was that. I also wish there was an option for starting matches only that are in lobbies. I do not like jumping in the middle of a match as either the hunter or the monster, because like depending on where you jump in, it ruins the experience. If you jump in at the beginning, okay, it's fine. But if I jump in and I will have the monster because the hunter's whacking. I'm stuck, and now what do? I have to back out, and I take a 60-second penalty till I can reload it.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's like what you said right now. Like, again, you see, it's like there's all these little things that accumulate to one like general flaw. Like it's just like what Gabe said. It's like it's almost like we're constantly hovering over the same kind of thing, but we don't know what that word is. Like if we had to summarize it in a sentence, what is the problem with Evolve? I don't know. Like I can't verbalize it into one.
I almost think it's like a very bold idea that maybe would have been better in 2018 when the internet is like locked down, everyone has these brilliant connections and blah, because I do feel like it is a very unique and novel concept that they've executed on. And to me, I love the fact that it feels different. Like it's not your traditional game. At the same time, I'm fully aware of these limitations. It almost feels like a game that, I mean, again, like I'm going to compare it to MOBAs, and then you're going to say that they don't cost anything, which I understand. But it's like those that there is, you need a specific environment, ecosystem, friend group, player base to make it really work, and then it shines. If you jump into LoL right now, you're going to be like, what the heck? I don't like this. Evolve kind of is the same way. It just happens to be in a $60 package that you find at Walmart, you know, when you're shopping with General Joe.
Yeah. Man, I'm glad you brought General Joe back. But the one point I wanted to make is,
I'm back.
I hope this game is around in 5 months. Like, yes, it'll still be on Source.
Yeah.
But I hope that it has the ability to grow. I hope it has the ability to evolve to a second stage. Yeah. I don't want it to die out quickly.
And it's a weird package because in 3 months, if that player base isn't there, and you go buy the game, whether it's on sale or not, you're kind of getting.
There is no game.
Right. It's like, what are you buying? So
yeah, and that's what sucks. Like that's what I'm saying. Like I really hope it.
So it's like, you see, it's a double-edged sword, because on one hand, I want to tell people get it so that there is enough people there, right? So that maybe, future iterations, and maybe they add things or whatever it is, or there's a chance to have a future iteration. But the problem is, I also can't do that with a clear concept, because I don't feel like what they're asking is a clear value there. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's really challenging, because it's like, I wish there was more so that I could say just, yes, go get it. It's a really, really unique experience, something different, unlike not completely unlike anything else you've experienced before, but quite different. The monster is definitely a big change to gameplay, and a lot of, hopefully, other companies can look at that and maybe adapt some of those elements for future games or game concepts. But
and I think there is a lack of modes maybe, but the difference in the hunter game versus the monster game is significant enough that almost doubles the amount of modes. Like, what we do as hunters versus what you do as a monster is so strategically different, gameplay different. Like, hunters, you're shooting stuff, you're jumping around, you're targeting things. Monster, you're basically a boss in a video game.
Yeah.
It's very asymmetrical in that sense, and that's how I've been selling people on the game, is like, look, you ever want to be a boss in a video game? Like, this is your chance, because it's next gen only, and those monsters are massive.
Well, this is your chance 1 out of 5 times.
Yeah, probably less than that. I mean, Zach, and I know
solo and guarantee the monster every single time.
All right, Zach's not gonna Zach's gonna hate this comparison. He's gonna say no way. But a lot of the stuff that we're saying that it lacks modes or maybe isn't enough there. Titanfall. Like, that's exactly what this sounds like to me.
But the difference to me is that Evolve is a new idea, and Titanfall is a riff on Call of Duty that does it worse.
Sure. I know, but just
I don't know if at the time it did it worse. I think Advanced Warfare.
In a package-wise.
Okay,
less leveling up, less guns, less modes, no single player.
But it did some things different with, the Titan itself did add.
I just think Evolve is a fundamentally new. It's like Left 4 Dead.
Yeah, that's a very good comparison, actually, because Titanfall did some things with, the Titan versus the soldiers.
Yeah,
and how
that's what it seems like to me.
But come on, the Titan versus the soldier is not the same.
It's not the same as the
No. Yeah. No, I'm not saying they're identical, but I'm saying they have a lot of the same beats. Like, they're very comparable in a lot of ways.
I'm just as worried as you guys about the game. Like, honestly, I think that their cycle was too long. I think that if this game was revealed in at the Game Awards or something, you'd have a lot more sales, because people would be like, oh, what are these monsters like? I want to be them. I think that they got themselves into a weird place where they revealed, people were worried about content, so they just showed more content, then everything was shown.
Well, you knew that there was an issue when the first thing we saw about this game was the pre-order bonus.
Yeah.
That was the very early things we saw about it was its pre-order bonus.
So maybe it wasn't handled that well, but I still think the underlying game, to me, that is something that I want to play, because it's an experience that is fresh and fun. And look, my time with the game has increased my enjoyment. The better I get with the monster, the more fun I have. Will it hit a wall in 6 months? I don't know. That's what I'm for me personally, that's what I'm most interested in.
You're the person here who has played it the most.
Yeah.
For sure. And it's just interesting, because you see, I've had experiences that felt a little bit repetitive. And maybe, you see, I don't even know if repetitive is the right word here, because I feel like maybe that's the wrong word to use.
Yeah, I feel like it is.
Yeah, because it's more so just, like I said, I think it was better, when I said it before, it just sometimes felt like very early in the game, you could predict who was going to win. And then based on that, it just felt like, now I'm just playing out 30 minutes of a loss, And you've seen that happen, with League of Legends. I remember they started adding, the surrender button and stuff, so it's it sped that up. Okay, yeah, we know we're going to lose, let's go.
And
next.
They do have a vote to restart in here, and granted, you need all 5 people to be on board, but if the match is getting weird or whatever, you can. And that happened to us. Somehow, the monster agreed. We started off, we had a disconnect, it was getting ugly, we voted to restart, we didn't have to back out, it just refreshed it. To me, I'm hyper-competitive, so getting the perfect lightning strike with Crack and taking the team out as quick as possible, it channels the same
challenges to you. Yeah,
it channels the same competitive fire I had when I played basketball, even if I could tell, man, we're going to get wrecked by this team or we're going to crush this team, I wanted to see how many points I could score, how many shots I could make from the three-point line, what move could I test out, and here that kind of.
But I think it also depends which side you're on, right? Like, because if you're
as the monster, I'm speaking.
Yeah, like if you're on the team that's getting wrecked, it's not that fun, you know? Because then you're just like, if you're, let's say, the player that's trying, right? But then your other two teammates or three teammates are running around just doing whatever, it just gets frustrating. You're like, okay.
I had someone tweet me that said, I played against you in the beta, I played against you now, it's no fun. And like, I'm not the best of all player by any stretch, but against new Evolve buyers, if they get matched up with me, I'm wrecking them. And so their ability to sort of separate the levels is going to be crucial as well.
Which is interesting. How is their matchmaking system work?
Yeah, that's the other thing. I don't even know.
Yeah, because maybe that's an issue there, is that maybe if you matched up like new players, maybe on hours played or something, with new players, then the experience is going to be more solid, because if you're all making mistakes, the monster and the hunters, then it maybe doesn't feel as
sure. And
right?
I think
like if you're playing against an experienced monster and you have one inexperienced hunter on your team, that's it. Like that can ruin your matchup, especially if it's like somebody like the medic or the trapper. That's a huge
and I think
difference.
Week 1, everyone's kind of, I'm still only like level 7, so it's early. When you get to like level, I think 40, I want to say is the max, it's either 30 or 40. At that point, how do they separate things out then? Am I going to only be playing against people, 28 and higher?
Maybe hours played.
Or hours played, yeah, because it definitely, to me, it's no fun by the same token if you go in as the hunters and wreck the monster like in a minute, or if like the monster destroys the hunters right at the base.
Yeah, you want to have a competitive like thing of where it's like back and forth. That's the most satisfying thing, right? Like, it happens in other games as well. Like one game that I've played tons of is Plants vs Zombies: Garden Warfare. And there's nothing more satisfying than when you're playing like Gnome Bomb or something like that, and it's that like back and forth, where you guys come down to one graveyard and one garden left, and they plant it, you defuse just at the last moment, then they plant, you plant it, and it's like, but like that's obviously where the game here shines as well, is where you have that monster experience where you guys clash, there's a fight, and then one of you decides to back away, and then you continue.
I guess I'm just thinking like back to your price discussion that started this Evolve segment, like Call of Duty, if you go in and you die over and over again, because like Advanced Warfare is a very, very quick time to death. Like, it's very quick.
Yeah.
Then I would say, like, if that was me playing, I'd be like, this multiplayer sucks. I can't even, like, get a kill streak. I can't even do anything.
See, but then that has the same thing that Evolve has. You can play
exactly. That's what I'm saying.
You can play against bots on easy.
Right, exactly. So that's why I'm kind of saying, like, what conditions are they're all valid, but what conditions should contribute to a game's merit versus just the player? Like, let's be honest, I'm playing Majora's Mask, and I can briefly mention that after Castle in the Darkness, but if puzzles challenge you, you could get stuck at the clock town, the first town in that game, and not get out.
I don't know, man. I don't think you get stuck there.
I think it's fair what you're saying. Like, obviously, anything is possible. Maybe you would get stuck or something, but I just, again, I think that, yes, there's an element of the how good is the players and everything, but the difference is also like I don't even know how to verbalize it, but like, is it asking so much of me that I don't feel like I'm getting enough back?
Yeah, that's a good point. It's an enigma. I think it's gonna evolve over the next couple months.
Hopefully, that's really interesting. I don't want this game to fail.
Yeah, because I don't think any of us wanted to fail.
You see, I don't think, like, as much as we're critiquing it and everything, I don't think that any one person here is just like, yeah, I really hope this game sells terribly. Because, it's a new IP, awesome. It's done well in many, like, it's got all these nuggets that are, like, awesome. Just fantastic.
I think it's the most next-gen game that we've got. It's a new idea. It's next-gen only. Maybe it's not the best graphical game. Maybe it's not the best servers right now, but like, what other game is doing something new that is only possible on these systems? Like, they straight up said we could not make the monsters and their AI routines and all that stuff work on 360 and PS3.
Yeah, I don't know. Probably, yeah. Nothing's jumping to mind, so I don't know. So maybe, you're probably right.
I do think that, you have to be careful.
I just hope it succeeds. it gains enough of a audience base that is passionate about it that it can carry it over to its evolved state. Because I think that's it's almost like Life is Strange, where it's like it's got good elements, but I want to see what's next. Like,
do you find it interesting? Strange, God, these words. They need to make some games with like crazy names, like Oblivion and Skyrim. Exactly. Do you think it's strange that Activision won't say how many copies of Destiny they sold? They talk about registered users, played hours, this, that, but they won't reveal the copies sold.
I'm sure they will reveal it during investor calls.
Yeah, we'll get it at some point.
But
the most recent one, they dodged it. They did not. They talked about a big content update coming in the fall, Comet or whatever that thing is.
I don't know, but it's a huge figure. I'm sure it is. Big. Oh yeah, of course. I think it's
that game sold well.
I think that game sold smaller than they play it though. Like that then they try to like spin it as.
Well, but it sold at least on the PS4 in sales.
Well, Destiny sold at least double, if not more, than Titanfall. Is that fair?
Oh yeah, for sure. I just think that I wonder, Destiny in the same way as Evolve. Like, if Evolve comes out and you get that game for Christmas this year, are you going to be like, go in and just get hammered by every veteran player? Like, Destiny seems to sort of share that. Like, people are all talking about legendaries and this. If you jump in today, do you feel like you're?
Yeah, it's a little.
Well, that puts you with people that are on your level. There is decent matchmaking there.
Yeah, I mean
for the multiplayer, but I'm just talking about like the overall, like, people are talking about level 30 and this and that.
Well, you don't interact with them, like, unless you're in Crucible. Like, other than that, you're not interacting with them.
No, you could interact with them sometimes in like the missions.
Yeah. Like the Nightfall. Well, no, they'll match you up with people that are similar to you, especially because you can't play a level.
Twice when I was playing Destiny, again, I was playing it at the very beginning, so maybe it's changed now. Because again, Destiny is one of those games. If you played it on launch and you play it now, it's very, very different. Yeah. But let's say when I had it, I had a couple of occasions where. I think I was level 7 and a level 14 and 17 or something.
That's the thing, though.
Yeah, but they ruined the experience for me because they came in and just killed everything so quickly for me.
Well, now all the higher level players are doing like the raids on hard. They're doing the Nightfall.
I guess I just meant it from the point of like the end game that a big chunk of the people still playing are at is very different from if you just got a sealed copy of Destiny and what you'd be doing. It's like some of these games that are coming out are so tied to their communities, we're so tied to online that the experience on launch day, the experience 6 months, the experience 16 months are vastly different. And like, I don't know, like, does Evolve review better today because it has a big player base, or does it review better in 6 months when it has more monsters but maybe a smaller player? Like, there's so many factors that seem to come into these games that.
That's arbitrary. We'll never know. I mean, you know, those issues are there for every multiplayer game that releases, and I think we have beat this horse to death as far as.
All right. Take us to the castle, Gabe. Something
you played it too. You take us to the castle. What did you think?
Castle in the Darkness.
You guys take me to the castle. I guess.
Top aboard okay. We've got a carriage like Max, like this carriage. It's got a waffle maker. Ooh. It's got a whole cabinet of corsets and dresses. I mean, if you're into that. Okay.
You were selling me with the waffle maker, and then when we got to the dresses, I was like, "What's happening?"
I mean, Castle Darkness is a medieval game, so I was trying to think of the time period. But
it's a $5 game too, $4.97 at the time of this recording. I don't know how it's.
It made me feel so weird playing it because, like, I think this is a quality game. I really like it, and I don't know how to compare it to why this game should cost $5 and Evolve or Dying Light should cost $60, because there was a time when this game would have cost as much as like Final Fantasy II or Final Fantasy whatever, and that would be much more complicated and much more AAA than this. It's a side-scrolling, hardcore action platformer done in very traditional 8-bit style with very 8-bit concepts and mechanics.
You get black bars on your screen unless you go full screen and stretch out the aspect ratio, which you do not want to do.
But what it illuminated to me is that polish sort of transcends, and maybe not polish in graphics or whatever, but like just the concept, the idea, Darkest Dungeon, Castle in the Darkness, Evolve. To me, the quality of the game is what stands out to me, and it was fun to have a resurgence of indies. Binding of Isaac Rebirth, Talos Principle, Darkest Dungeon, Castle in the Darkness, like that has renewed my faith in like that kind of development. It just makes me feel weird, like I'm having fun with this game. in some ways I want to play it more than my boxed $60 games. Why or why not why isn't this cost $60? Like it's decently long.
It's just, I think, it's one of those things that gaming is, again, like we said before, but a gajillion times, it's young and everything, but it's so like, it's more subjective than I think any other medium.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because a book is going to be, at the end of the day, the words are the words.
Right.
A movie is a movie, whereas a game, I think with games it could be more so like, yes, there's obviously movies that, let's say, most people could hate but you love for whatever reason.
Amazing.
But I think with games it happens even more often, where like there could be a huge element of like, I love this game and I can't get enough of it, but somebody else could just look at it and be like people who love Dynasty Warriors or like those kinds of games,
Get out of hell for one.
But then the majority could just be like, oh my god, this game is awful. Like, it's just absolutely terrible.
You have movies that are made by indie studios, movies that are made by 20th Century Fox, movies that are 3.5 hours long, movies that are an hour and 20 minutes long, and they all charge the same when you go to your local movie theater.
Yeah.
It's weird to me that games are so different. But like back to Castle of Darkness, the guy does good work. I mean, I don't think there's a whole lot to say in terms of like.
This was made by one person, yeah?
Mostly. It's Matt Cap. He works over there at Nicholas. I mean, there's more people over there. Obviously, yeah. I don't think he did the music for this, but he designed it and everything else. I'm pretty sure it was him. He worked on 1001 Spikes. He worked on By Name of Isaac, which is the most recent thing. They also did that VVVV game. I don't know what you actually.
Yeah.
I think what's funny about it is that like a lot of things that we would criticize today's games for appear to be charming and or just part of the experience. So like cheap deaths, maybe like badly spaced checkpoints, like some stupid like things like that just seem par for the course in that kind of game. Today we'd be like blasphemy, but there it has so much charm. And again, I think it's kind of like we talked about Banjo. Like time does wonders sometimes for things, and like not playing a game like this for that long, like you fall in love with it again in a way. Just in the same way, if you took 6 years off Call of Duty and you played Ghost, you might think Ghost was fantastic.
Yeah, and to give people a little bit better idea of what the game is.
Yeah.
Although I mean, there's gameplay up, so I mean you have that. It's Castlevania like 1 mixed with Mega Man mixed with The Legend of Zelda. These are all the originals. I'm not talking about like A Link to the Past or anything.
I think it's closest to Mega Man.
It's closest to Castlevania.
You think so? The original, not like the Metro stuff.
Yeah, no. Right, the original Castlevania.
Yes.
It really is just that. Plus, you know the weapons that you get and things like that. So there is Mega Man elements. I don't know. You can't go wrong. $6. This game is not short, but it's also not super long. So you can have a decent 5-hour experience for $5. You're paying $1 for an hour there. I think the gameplay is super solid. The platforming is precise. You don't feel like
great.
Yeah, like every time for me at least, every time I die, I know it's because of something I did. It's not the game being cheap in any way. Even some of those bosses that are maybe cheap, but
it's got a really nice.
Go ahead.
Cycle to it, like get to a boss, die because you don't know what's going on, respawn really fast, try to get back there, maybe get a new weapon, get to another, like the kind of loop is really nailed well, where you're not going more than, I mean, what would you say, Gabe, like 5 minutes without something big happening, either a new item, a new weapon, a new boss.
Yeah. I mean, and the save mechanic as well. But yeah, like I told you last week, you're working towards a save, and like you just said, every 5 to 10 minutes, something different is happening. You're encountering different enemies that some might not necessarily respond well to the magic that you've been using for like the past 10 minutes, and it's been guiding you. But now you can't use it against this enemy because he guards against it.
It is set levels, right? It's not procedurally generated.
That sense it is, yeah. But it's just one like. You're just moving. There's not like
so
1.
There is no. Yeah. Oh, okay.
You can run from the beginning to the end whenever you want.
So this is gonna be like a speedrunner's dream. Like
it's interesting too to like think. I mean, value I guess just comes down to what you feel you want to spend your money on. Because you could buy Castle in the Darkness, Darkest Dungeon, the full season of Life is Strange, and go to a movie for the price of Evolve, and it's like, or for the price of Dying Light, or the price of Bloodborne, and it's like,
I'm much rather do all that stuff, honestly.
You might rather that. Max might rather something different. So I think a lot of it just comes down to you have every opportunity in the world in 2015 to find out about games. You can read, watch, listen, do your research, make what choice is right for you, and that will feel the best. So if $60 in Evolve sits terribly in your mind, fine. You can go find 15 Steam games to spend $60 on, but it's kind of like, I don't know how a governing body would set a price point when everybody's idea of value is so different. Yeah, so personalized.
Exactly. Yeah, I just, again, I think we just simply have no, like, remember I think 2 or 3 podcasts ago, we were talking about this specifically. You can go back and listen to that conversation. We had a really in-depth conversation about value and what are you associated to, like time or quality, and then what is quality associated to, like, because then it's super subjective. So I just think that we don't have an understanding of it. I just think that sometimes, though, what we do is just like comparison shopping, and what we do is we'll look at Evolve and, like what you said, Gabe, it's like it just doesn't feel like a whole thing, you know. And you might not be able to verbalize it, but then there might be somebody else, you know, who will play Evolve and be like, I would pay $80 for this, you know.
Sure.
Maybe
and that's fine.
You know?
All right, but yeah, we backtracked. Castle in the Darkness, I mean, there's not a whole lot we can say, really, because this game's been around for over 20 years. Like, not this game, but this type of game. So we know what it is. If you've played the original Castlevania, the original Mega Mans and stuff like that, and you thought those were fun, this game is super interesting as well. The bosses are fun to deal with, the enemies. There's a good variety in the levels as well. I don't know how far Zach is, but
I'm pretty far. I'm based on what you were saying, I'm a little bit behind you, but I'm moving along, and I really like it. I mean, it's a game that speaks for itself very much in the sense of no fluff, no story, no whatever. It's like
you're saving the princess, but then the princess maybe doesn't want to be saved.
Right. You pick it up, you play it, and you know it's about your. It's like, to me, what Nintendo does well. It's about like your hands-on with the controller is what makes it fun, not like anything side.
Here's something on a bit of a lighter note. This is a really good poster made by somebody on Twitter for Ben Parker. Did you see that movie with Tom Cruise where he live, die, repeat?
Yes.
I want to see it. I haven't seen it.
So Ben Parker, Peter Parker's uncle, live, die, again.
Oh, because the Spider-Man origin.
That's amazing. All right.
Dying over and over again.
They're not going to do the origin again. I really don't think they will.
You guys have a call out for Spider-Man's actor?
I don't know. There's 2 big actors rumored. Like,
yeah, I mean, there's some people rumored.
And somebody else, another guy that's
They're going young, so
the guy from the Kingsman, the new movie Kingsman or whatever it's called. But with Origins, maybe we could talk a little bit about Zelda. So wrap that up.
Oh yeah. Let me give you a little Majora's Mask. Goodness gracious.
There we go.
Majora's Mask is an old game that I feel I'm liking better than the recent Zeldas. It's quirky. They try a lot of different things, and to me, what I enjoy about it on the 3DS is that one, it looks polished. I went back and watched some videos of Majora's Mask on N64. They've done some nice things. The graphics, totally remastered it. No, touched it up. Yes. It tackles the Zelda formula in a more unique way than what you've come to expect, and I think that's why it's succeeding for me. The fact that I have to monitor this time system, if you're not familiar, there's this 3-day cycle that the game kind of ends if you get to those 3 days. It's about, I don't know, every day.
Kind of. The game does end.
Okay. Well, I mean, you can rewind it. Is what I'm going to say is like each day is like 20 to 30 minutes, and you have to accomplish things within those days. Then you rewind time, you lose certain items, you keep certain items, you go do it again. And I think like that extra layer is what's keeping me playing and keeping me really engaged, because I'm used to going through Hyrule Field and, you know, fighting Goma and then, you know, getting the boomerang. I was surprised that the first item I got here was the bow and arrow. Like that was fun for me. And then the next item, the Lens of Truth. Like you're getting stuff in a weird order, and it almost feels like either they were really drunk or just had like great creative spirit when they made this game, because the environments are way more fresh than what like.
Which is weird to say about a remastered game. Like
Game. It's just like Majora's Mask seemed to sort of take Ocarina, and like if Ocarina was like the top level of Hyrule, like flip it over and let's go to the underbelly. I know it's a different land, but like the weird areas, like the Deku Kingdom and like this, you know, snowy mountain. I don't know. It seems like a more inspired Zelda than the ones we've gotten even.
It's one of the most different Zeldas because usually you play Zelda a little bit slower and more methodically.
Mm-hmm.
And this one, there's a sense of urgency because you do have this arbitrary timer on you.
Yeah.
So
is this exclusive to the new 3DS?
No.
Yeah.
No.
No? Oh, okay.
No, it's for everything.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, like, controlling the camera with the second stick as opposed to like the C buttons on the N64 controller is really nice. It sort of makes Link feel a lot more maneuverable than he used to feel.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I like the fact that you're kind of thrust into it. It feels like there's less hand-holding. It's almost, and I remember reading this way back when, like, they expect that people that played Majora played Ocarina. And so there's like...
well, they came out fairly... It's one of the only, like, direct sequels in Zelda. So.
There's like a quickness to the tutorial that I appreciate. It's like they don't bore you with, like... Even the first dungeon, it's pretty simple, but you're running torches between lights, you're flying around, you're jumping. They're expecting you to kind of know the core concepts, as opposed to today, I feel like Skyward Sword's intro sequence, like, that soured me on that game so much because you spend like 3 hours learning how to walk, which, I mean, I know Nintendo likes to cater to everybody, but I really hope that Zelda Wii U sort of gives us the benefit of the doubt that we know how to play video games. And, I mean, I don't want to do, like, can you go pick me a flower fetch quest 5 times to understand what a quest is in Zelda Wii U. Like, give me the game. Like, that's what I really respect about Majora, is like, you're doing crazy stuff right from the beginning, and it in a weird way feels more fresh than the ones I played, this decade.
And that game came out in the year 2000, so 15 years ago. That is so crazy. And the fact that it still holds up, it's insane.
And I like the 3D. I like the new 3DS. We talked about that last week. I still firmly believe it's the best 3DS. And the thing I like most is the fact that the 3D is not stressful anymore to my eyes. I don't know how they accomplished that, but it's pretty impressive that you can lean back and forth, move. The biggest issue I had with the normal 3DS, the old 3DS, is if you change your focus of your eyes, you'd have to refocus to the screen. So if I looked away, if I got distracted, I have to like sort of get in that focus mode. Mm-hmm. Not anymore. It maintains. Slightly, but it's reduced so much that I don't even notice it, and I'm able to play in 3D for an hour at a time, which before would never have happened.
No.
So Majora's Mask comes out Friday. It's fantastic. I think it's a must-have for 3DS. It continues the trend of the Nintendo games being the best on the platform, but
it's a 15-year-old game also. So, I mean, Nintendo games from 15 years ago are still better than the biggest release of the month.
It's one, though, I think it was the right choice because I don't think as many people played it, and I don't think as many people... I mean, obviously tons of people did, but like today's gamer core that like loves Mario and loves Zelda, this is not one that people went back and played. Like, you tell people, go play Ocarina because that's like the Zelda. But Majora's Mask, I think, is new for most people. And like I wonder, and I don't know what you guys think about this, like, if they made a new Zelda for 3DS, obviously Link Between Worlds took the top down, but like, how much different would a brand new Zelda be on 3DS versus Majora's Mask?
I wouldn't know.
Like, would it be like what does Zelda do differently? And this is something that hopefully Zelda.
That's why they're remastering everything.
Yeah. I mean, the handheld Zeldas are always the ones that have those. Gimmick is the wrong word, but sort of. Where you have to blow into the 3D, stuff like that. I don't know. When I think handheld Zeldas, I think of Spirit Tracks and stuff like that, and they're good. I love Zelda to death, but I'm much more excited for Wii U Zelda than another 3DS.
Yeah. So Majora's Mask, good in my book. 2 quick feedback points that I wanted to make here. Hexamath says, seriously, Gabe, what are you hiding under your cap? A really rare Pokemon? Please show me.
Gabe,
I'll show you when I get a haircut. Like, I mean, it's just really bad hair is all it is.
Okay. No secret.
Just really bad hair.
Yeah, like my hair is like super long, and it's under a hat the whole time. So it's not combed or anything. Like, I have hair. Like, it's really not a big deal.
I have hair.
I don't know. People are like,
I have hair, guys.
I don't know. People are thinking like I'm bald, like
hashtag bald,
and I only have hair like an old man. Like, nah, like
Gabe,
it's
I
really
expect
not
you to have a T-shirt by the next episode that says "I have hair."
Man. Let's get that rolling.
I picture you having like a little teacup or coffee cup that you can just like sip when.
I wish. I don't know. Ever since like middle school, like I've just always worn hats. Like.
You're a hat guy.
I wear a hat 100%.
Yeah, I just always wear like again a hat whenever I don't have time to do my hair. I'm just like, yep, cover it up. Let's go.
The cynical gunslinger has an interesting point. I don't even think we need to respond. I just wanted to give him some credit for coming up with a good thought. He says, for as much as the internet and my PC master race friends try to make me believe that graphics are the most important factor, I just don't really think they are. For me, a game should be about how it plays and how it left you feeling and not what it looks like. That said, I'm not saying graphics aren't important. I believe that the standard of graphics should probably increase as we enter next-gen territory now, but I don't feel like people should be going out with pitchforks and torches because something runs at 900p as opposed to 1080. It's like, and he apologized in advance, dating a girl because she looks hot rather than dating her because of her personality. So I just thought that was like a nice analogy and kind of just summed up a lot of what we've talked about with next-gen about like evolve the concepts, not just the size or the fidelity, but give us something, you know, fresh and fun, and we'll respond to it. For as old-fashioned as Darkest Dungeon is, it's a kind of new concept, you know, capitalizing on old ideas. I'd love to see Xbox One and PS4 tackle that same challenge.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, I'm not like a resolution. I was gonna say the word.
You're not a resolution whore. It's fun.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not a resolution whore. I don't care.
Yeah.
So I get what he means. Like, as long as there's something else in the game there. Evolve is a good example. It doesn't look super good on Xbox One or PS4. It looks a lot better on PC, but I'd much rather play it on Xbox One because, you know, controller, that's where friends are playing, things like that. So, I think people that complain about resolution are just complaining just because they hear everybody else doing it. They don't necessarily really even notice a difference. So.
Yeah, I think very few people realize like the differences in many elements of quality and such are not as noticeable as many people make them out to be, at least in my opinion.
For sure. And wrapping up here, make sure to give us your feedback in the comments below, questions, what you thought about the things we discussed, whether it's Fallout 4 and your enthusiasm for that, spiritual successor to Banjo-Kazooie, Evolve. I want to wrap up with a new segment here that we'll do every week. Max, I love your mug.
Yeah, the Illuminati owl.
That's true.
Man, you got to stop giving them reasons to think we're with the Illuminati, man.
Next week, our special guest will be Jay-Z.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Jay-Z's a big fan of Evolve, so
yeah.
His thoughts. It's worth $60, Jay-Z.
We'll have Kanye. We'll have Kanye on the week after, and he'll complain. Well, how come we didn't get Beyonce on here before him? I don't know.
He'll complain.
What's the segment?
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Our new segment is just a brief mention at the end of what your current most anticipated game is, and I think it's just fun to check in every week and see. You know, are you excited for something up close? Are you excited for something far away? You know, we were all about Uncharted 4 and stuff like that a couple weeks ago, but with new footage of Bloodborne, you know, Evolve's now out. MGS5, thoughts of that. Fallout 4, like where you guys sit with what is on your like hype wagon.
Take it away, Gabe.
For me, hopefully it doesn't always happen like this, but a lot of the times it's whatever's closest, like the next big release. And you know, right now that's the order.
Okay.
And I'm interested to see how that game turns out more than like actually playing it. Like I just want to know, is it good? Like I want to see people response. I want to see will people support it. Yeah. Does Sony have a new franchise on their hands? I want to know.
Yeah.
People want to know.
Yeah, I think Order is a very good choice because I don't know why that game feels like it's not like we haven't got stuff about that game, but it also feels like we got nothing about that game, doesn't it? Like it feels like it's like right around the corner. Like I know what it's about, but I really don't know what it's about. You know,
yeah.
And
from the time of this podcast being published, it's out in exactly 1 week.
Yeah. So it's so bizarre that like it's a game that feels like we've seen plenty of gameplay or trailers and you know developers talking, but then at the same time I can't really say what is this game going to be. Like, you know, I'm so confused about it, so I'm excited about that to see what it will be, and hopefully it'll be a pleasant surprise. But of course for me, June cannot come any faster because Batman, man, I've got a hole in my heart for Batman.
I hope they have something at PAX East. Like give us a demo, some new footage. We've seen like the same stuff, but
anything.
I might go get a Batman tattoo now. See, I'm doing this thing. I want to go get a tattoo soon.
You should get Batman tattooed on your chest, like
well,
right in the middle of your chest.
No, I don't do
a word bubble that goes off onto your belly and it says like, "I'm Batman."
No, I don't do big tattoos. What I do when I go to the tattoo shop is I trick them. I tell them here. I'm looking.
That doesn't sound like
I don't think you're tricking them. I think they might be tricking.
Nah, well, no.
The thing is, a tattoo. They just give you like a Z. Like, thanks.
Well, no. It gets drawn up, right? And to me, the things I want on my wrist, I want like 3 separate little things right here. And instead of them charging me for one little thing, I'm gonna have them do all 3. And I want them to do the Batman one as well. But I don't know if I want it on a separate wrist or whatever. I don't know. I am scared to get a tattoo on my wrist though, because I hear that hurts a lot.
Do you have a tattoo already on your wrist?
Yeah, I have a Triforce tattoo. No, not on my wrist.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have Triforce on my arm, and then I have something else on my back, and that's it.
You really should think about the Batman on the chest. I think we could get a Kickstarter going for that one, to be honest.
Patreon exclusive. I'll do it for like
in the middle, just a huge mug of Batman.
That'd be amazing. I gotta go lose some weight first, and then we can do that.
It would be incredible. Oh my God! You could animate him by just moving your skin.
It's like that bad SpongeBob episode.
It'd be amazing.
Hey, this isn't like, I'm not saying no. I'm just saying let's get that Patreon money, yeah.
There we go.
Zach, what about you, man?
All right, yeah. Let's hear what Mr. Zacchaeus has to say.
A quick order thing. One of the devs of the game tweeted out that the first journalist completed the game in the world, and he called him up, and like he was the dev was so happy that this guy got everything that the game had to offer, and like they had a real heart-to-heart conversation. And like to me about that game is I feel like I'm hoping that there's something more to it than just whatever. Like, is there co-op? I know there's not, but like is there something else, or is it just fighting werewolves and humans in streets?
That's fine. I mean, it depends on the story.
The order is going to be your Evolve.
I think it's interesting that we complain about side black bars, but this has top and bottom black bars, and nobody cares.
The Evil Within did it. It's supposed to be more cinematic, whatever.
My most anticipated game
experience.
I'm falling victim to the Gabe school of thought, which is the recent thing. I've got so much hype for Bloodborne right now. I'm seeing the coverage this past week of what that game is doing.
Yeah, that character customization thing that IGN put out, like the 18-minute long thing, that was impressive. That's cool.
I think it's going to show that it was true that the B team made Dark Souls 2 and that the A team was working on this, because I don't know, it doesn't feel like a whole new game. Like, it could be called Dark Souls 3, like, don't get me wrong, but some of the evolutions they're making to the combat, to just the world, to the systems, I really like where they're going. That co-op that we've mentioned before sounds super fun, and it's just like that's a game that, again, like I know I'm gonna get it and just want to pour my time into until I finish. I have no questions whether I'll like be interested or not. I want to see it through just because I want to see it through. So I'm super hyped for that. But yeah, Gabe, I share that with you. Like, I'm interested for the order. Is it a 4 out of 10, a 7 out of 10, a 9 out of 10? Like, what the heck is going on with that game?
We should do it, like, if it's above a 9, Gabe has to get a tattoo for it.
Yeah, let's just do that. Let's just use my body as a canvas for jokes. Let's do it, man.
Every game this year that gets a 9 out of 10 or higher, Gabe has to mark his mark.
Yo, I'm dead serious. So we can somehow get a Kickstarter going for this.
Well, you probably would have wanted to do that last year because you'd probably get like what, 2 or 3 tattoos on that?
No tattoos.
I'm willing, guys. People watching, I am willing. Let us know what you think about littering my body with tattoos of dumb video games. I'm gonna go get the Evolve Paw on my hand, like right here.
Like right in the middle. Oh, that'd be great.
Well, no, I'm not gonna finish it. I'm gonna do like 2 of the. Well, yeah, except one of the claws. I'm gonna have to like pay for it later for like $6 or something. I don't know.
Oh. Okay.
I can't buy it all at once. That's my point. Yeah.
Do they do microtransactions at
I'm gonna introduce microtransactions.
Tattoo half of it, and they're like, "Listen, you either give me another $100, or it's gonna look ridiculous."
I'm gonna revolutionize the tattoo game.
All right, the Tattoo Talk podcast will be debuting next week. Also, next week we've got. I mean, the order is Friday, which is odd.
So we won't have a chance to play it. Before the
maybe.
I'm getting Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate just because I want to see what it's about. A lot of people have talked about that. Kirby and the Canvas Curse comes out next week as well.
I forgot. I'm excited about that.
Yeah,
that's a $40 game, by the way.
Can we talk about it and have Nintendo not like destroy us?
Yeah, we'll be all right. We'll be all right. We got Majora's Mask out, and we're not dead yet. So thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you're not dead yet by the end of this show. Let us know what you think in the comments below. As usual, we are bringing it to iTunes. It's very close. You're going to see it in a feed very soon. Make sure to follow these guys on Twitter, twitter.com/blitzwinger for all Mad Max's maple syrup ramblings. Tornado Texan Gabe is at twitter.com/follow. now you are the tattooed.
The tattooed Tornado Texan Gabe. Oh, I love that.
Triple TG. TTTG.
And you can find me on Twitter at twitter.com/ghostshow. Well, big thanks.
One of these weeks, I want to randomly make a commitment and say, hey, we will have a name by next week, just so I can put us on the spot. But
you can do that this week. Next week we'll come in with a name. iTunes is coming in the next week or 2, 3 in there within the month, and you will have a name by next week.
And we had a special guest the whole time, Iron Man.
Him and Jay-Z, I hear that they don't like each other, so we might have a rap battle live on the show.
Well, I'm down
Iron Man versus Jay-Z, there you go.
Yeah, but if you pre-order the podcast,
all right, get us out of here.
Have some fun this week. Go play some games. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And until next time, everybody have a fantastic week. Drink some hot chocolate, lemonade, or maple syrup.
And get some tattoos.
All. Yeah, God. Gabe, you're going to inspire a generation of colorful people.
Terrible tattoos.
You're racist.
Until next time, we'll see you all later.
Peace out.